This guy Chris, before I won't say his last name because I don't know if he wants me to, but I have not met Chris yet. But
I haven't met Carl.
Nobody has.
What did I sign up for today?
Hey, pass me a beer.
You're the one that showed up in no pants.
Look, at least promise me you won't drink. Alcohol always leads to trouble.
It gets hot in here. I'm glad that Chad found one bottle and then put on some music, some Barry Manilow, and made another bottle. I appreciate it.
Hey, who wants to play Drink the Beer?
Right here.
You win.
All right, what do I win?
Another beer.
Got to make the magic happen.
He fondled the...
Just have a cup of coffee.
There it is.
Coffee?
Beer.
I don't even know whose foot that is, but don't stop.
I'd kill for a beer.
Chad was able to sweet talk the beer store guy, boy, child, whatever it was.
It was a man, but
Of course it was.
I mean,
Post-up or pre-op?
I don't know. Actually,
Actually.
Cheap beer and a sympathetic ear. Step right up.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Bearded Hops Podcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And as always, we have the three gentlemen here. Well, two. I'm not a gentleman. But we actually are all in the same room where we can reach out and touch each other.
yeah, special show.
It's very, very
Same
nice.
room.
I won't talk nice to you and talk about fornicating with you.
It's going to be nice.
What did I sign up for today?
You're the one that showed up in no pants. It's not our fault.
It gets hot in here.
So thanks, everybody, for hanging with us. Tonight we have... I feel like I say this all the time, but we have a really special beer tonight.
Well, we do get a lot of special beers.
We talked about it last week with Grant from Three Sheeps. So yes, it is another Three Sheeps.
Special beer and a special guest, but we're going to start with the beer.
We're gonna start with the beer. Yeah. The beer tonight is the Cuvee 2019.
We probably should get the bottles out so we can read what it is.
Yeah,
Read
you can
what it's
grab-
all about.
Go ahead and grab that. 2019. Chad was lucky enough when we talked to Grant, we only had one bottle. Well, now we have two, which is good because Gina's going to come in, So. And so we're going to do that tonight. We also have an interview tonight with Greg, I think it's Avola, co-founder of Untappd. We're going to be talking to him a little bit later. But first, as always, the beer. Chad, how you doing? Because we got to go around and say hi to everybody. So
My name is Chad.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm doing really well. Good to be in the Bearded Hops studio tonight. Bearded Hops South studio.
the Southern studio.
Because I refer to my own studio as my Bearded Hops studio.
You're so possessive.
It's Jake from State Farm.
You guys should come up and do a podcast from my Bearded Hops studio.
We should. We need to do...
We got to pack all this shit up, though.
That's like
This is not a mobile solution here, kids.
Not yet. We just need a sponsor, and maybe we'll get some mobile equipment.
Well, I'm excited because we did the 2018 on the last show, and
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
when I had the 2018 originally, I rated it very well, but it had been a while, and when we were talking to Grant and drinking that, it was just like, hot damn, this is some good beer. So very excited to see 2019. I have not been able to find it in the stores myself. I'm glad that
south of the border, we're not finding it.
I'm glad that Chad found one bottle and then put on some music, some Barry Manilow, and made another bottle. I
That's the way
appreciate
it
it.
happens. Got to make the magic happen.
He fondled the guy at the store. So
And it's always fun when we got all three of us in the same studio.
reach out and touch me.
I mean, if you stroke the shaft in the right way.
I don't even know whose foot that is, but don't stop.
So tonight we got that 2019 Cuvee. Chad, why don't you go ahead and tell us? Actually, no. Pause. We
Rules of engagement.
Got to do the rules of engagement.
It's Jake from State Farm.
She sounds hideous.
Well, no video tonight, right?
No
my
video.
friend? No video
You
tonight.
can hold it up if you like to the camera like you did that the other time.
I mean, I'm just a fan of their packaging. I think it's got a nice classic look to it. A lot of their bottles have also some texture to it that kind of gives it. I don't know if it's
Stop stroking it the way you are. My God.
Oh yeah.
Can I touch it?
I like their labeling. I
Oh,
do
this one
label.
isn't. This one isn't the.
Yeah, it doesn't have the texture, but it's
texture,
still
but-
a
but there's
still a
It's
matte
still,
finish.
it's still the texture though.
There's
It's
a
still the
little
texture
something
to it.
going on there, a little something.
Okay, go ahead. Hurry up so we can drink.
We'll
Jeez.
pop this baby open, pour it out, give it a good sniff, see, and go around the horn, see what our initial thoughts are. Maybe we'll quickly. I don't know if we have any updates on some beer news. Maybe not. So maybe we'll just keep chugging on right through here. See if that flavor profile changes a little bit as she warms up, and maybe go out into beer world a little bit, and then come back and land on the final rating, and then we'll get on. Moving on to our interview.
Yeah, and so Chad, you're fondling the bottle. You want to read? Tell us what is different about the 2019 Cuvee.
Yeah, Cuvee 2019. This is different than the last 2 years. Last 2 years, it's been classified as an imperial stout that was a multiple blend of other stouts, and I think they might have used the quad in one of last year's. But this is an ale aged in rye whiskey and white wine barrels. So this
White wine.
This is not even close to an imperial stout.
Yeah, so the last two, 17 and 18, were much darker.
Yes.
This one,
when we first saw this reported on Untappd, we were like, "No way! That somebody's mislabeled this."
And my wife immediately called the tapper.
Yes.
And was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and we found
I want answers.
That's not it. What is it? That's not it, is it?
We found out that in fact it is totally different this year. So it's the combination to make this blend is a 45% golden ale, 27% imperial saison plus mangoes, 18% amber ale,
There's your mangoes, yeah.
and 9% quad with figs and molasses, which would be like the veneration.
Aren't mangoes an aphrodisiac?
Anything. What was the first one?
Well, I'm going to go through the aging here too. So that was the percentage of types.
What was the first percentage? Oh, sorry.
45% golden ale.
That's what it was.
But that one is aged in Chardonnay barrels. So that would
okay.
be like a roll out the barrel kind of beer. The 27% Imperial Saison with mangoes aged in Chardonnay barrels. The 18% Amber Ale aged in Chardonnay barrels. And the 9% quad aged in rye barrels, rye whiskey barrels.
So do you boys like Chardonnay?
I'm
it's
not
alcohol. So.
I mean, I'll drink it, but Chardonnay is not the first thing that I go for. But I mean, that's what Roll Out the Barrel is aged on, Chardonnay barrels, and that's a fantastic beer.
So when Chad and I were sort of waxing beer shop before the show started, we were looking at that breakdown and that makeup, and we kind of speculated that maybe one to start on the colder side. You know,
yeah, I think so.
The golden ale, the red, or the amber.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean,
Chardonnay you typically drink cool, right?
I mean, look at that. That is really.
I mean, it's really more amberish in color.
Yeah, it's so much lighter.
Is it to the level of a white stout?
I think it's darker than a white stout.
It might be darker.
Yeah, it's probably that amber shit.
Yeah, pop that one too. Gina's coming up.
Yeah, I think we'll have enough to get a good 8 to 10 ounces per person.
Now, what's the ABV?
8.6.
Okay.
And
So as we heard Grant tell us, though,
they're trending that way.
They're trending that way to lower ABV, which I get. People can enjoy it a little bit
Drinkability.
more. Yeah, drinkability.
Do you want 3 Sheeps or Game of Thrones?
I don't give a.
Nope. There you go.
Don't spill it on it. Huh.
Can definitely smell a Chardonnay. That's the
Yeah,
first thing I smell.
Yeah, it's no. So this is definitely, since we're not doing any video, it means so much lighter.
Yeah, it looks like an amber ale or a red ale. More amber ale than red. It's lighter than red.
Very much has an amber hue to it.
Well, when you've got over 50% of the blend is golden ale, amber ale, and a saison is going to be even lighter. The quad, being probably veneration, is going to give it that darker color. So, I think it's really nice. It's a really pretty color.
It smells really good. Definitely the fruitier.
Yeah, it's like a fruity Chardonnay smell.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's mangoes, there's figs and molasses. It's going to make it a little bit sweeter smelling. Uh-oh. Don't want to ruin that bottle.
Definitely
So the rye
Sorry
barrels is
about
that
Chet.
is that rye whiskey?
I didn't know you were saving that one. I thought you were only boat bottles now or boat cans.
Well, except for the Three Sheeps
So the
Cuvees.
Three Sheeps Cuvees.
Oh, my apologies.
So that rye
right.
barrels,
This one's
figs-
Adam's. Let's trade.
No, sorry, I got some on my hands. The figs and molasses one, is that rye whiskey barrels?
Yes.
It says rye barrels. It doesn't say.
I would imagine it's got to be
It's
right.
gotta
You know
With
what I'm
be,
saying?
right?
I would assume so. That's why I assume. You already drank. You already tasted it, didn't you?
I did.
I was heard you.
Was it good? I'm definitely. You know what? I get the on the nose.
Oh,
I
wow.
get the Chardonnay, but I get the fig on the back end.
That's different than I was.
Yeah, the fig and molasses is kind of molasses taste in the middle, a little bit of a sweetness in the middle, but definitely finished with a fig.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good.
I like. I'm glad it's cold. I think it's.
Yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know this. We'll see as we drink here. but
Yeah,
I think that was the right call.
I don't think warm would be the right thing for this. It is. I like it a lot, actually. It's
I do too. But it's definitely a beer that needs to be on the chilly
It's
side.
definitely different than what we've had in the past.
You know, as I sit here and kind of smack my lips a little bit, I think I am getting some of that mango in the end.
That's what I was kind of as you let it sit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. As I'm sitting here just letting it sit, kind of.
And it's almost like a
Seeps through it
like
there
a
at the end.
boozy mango. There's a little bit of just a slight little burn. I mean, not like burn like you'd normally see in a barrel aged beer, or like a high ABV beer. But there's a little bit of a sizzle.
I'm not getting that. No bango action for me.
No bango.
Yeah. I'll ask Carl about it.
Barrel aged mango.
Yeah, Carl will tell you all about it, man.
Bango.
No, it's just a little of that juicy mangoiness. It doesn't hit me right away. It kind of sneaks in afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, let me read what else is on the side of the bottle here. I believe we did this with the other ones. So
Definitely Chardonnay up front.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Jed.
As I start to drink it, it almost smells like I'm drinking Chardonnay.
Hey guys, Chad here.
So once a year, this is Three Sheeps speaking. Once a year,
You're doing the voice of a sheep. Come on.
once a year that was not
He knows that way too well.
that was not a sound effect.
No, that was not. That was him. And,
I shudder to think when he used that. Go ahead.
well,
Once a year, we create a special beer that
when he has his
draws
Velcro gloves, that's when he uses it.
Velcro gloves.
Never mind. You'll get it later.
What do you use Velcro gloves for? Oh, to hold on to the sheep.
I'm thinking.
It was like Joey on Friends. Okay, let me start over. Once a year, we create a special beer that.
Hey, wait. Can you start over?
Come on.
Pivot.
Can you start over, please?
Once a year, we create a special beer that draws from the best of the last 12 months. We call it Cuvee Blend. It's a nod to the French winemaking tradition and is a blend of aged beers from select barrels. This year's blend is a departure from tradition. Yes. We challenged ourselves to explore flavors that at first glance didn't appear to work well together, but when combined made something exciting. Whether figs, mangoes, or Chardonnay, each element is present on its own, but creates an overall push and pull of flavors that are wholly equal. Cuvée Blend is a medley of flavors, a strong backbone of Chardonnay barrels with notes of mangoes, molasses, fig, and rye whiskey built on top. It's the perfect summation of the past year at Three Sheeps and a great way to welcome in 2019.
Chad, can you think of, and I'll preface this by saying that I cannot, can you think of, I mean, clearly there's breweries that we know, Surly Darkness, changes every year. Can you think of a beer like this that is a combination of things that they do that changes every
It's
year?
a blend, like a blended.
The only one that
Yeah.
comes to mind that I know, Central Waters does when they do their anniversary beer.
And it's a blend?
Yeah.
What do they call it?
It's just a number. It's last year was 20.
Oh, that was that one. The 20.
This year's 21.
Yeah.
My friend on Untappd, Chris, is going to hook me up with a 21.
But you have to go. You're supposed to be able to have to go to get it, right? Isn't that what it is?
Yes, you have to get it from the tap room, unless
Do you have to be
somebody
part
you
of
know
their
has
club,
one.
like a barrel age club?
Nope, you just have to be
You just have to be there at the
on
anniversary party,
yep,
right?
on the day they release it, yeah.
Well, we've been talking about breweries to go visit, and I was kind of looking, like coming up with these ones and looking on the map, and that's the farthest one away, even farther than New Glarus, which I didn't know how far that
Yeah,
was.
it's in Amherst. It's
an hour and a half, hour 40 from us, where New Glarus is like an hour and 5. I thought New Glarus was farther, so.
Well,
I'm liking it.
they're making me like the blend, so I was just wondering. And I guess
Well,
really I
it's-
was looking for a recommendation on blend that I could, potentially acquire.
It's interesting, it's not the flavor you're used to, it kind of switches it up,
It has more of a roll out the barrel taste than anything else to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, because I think there's much more of the Chardonnay.
Yeah. All 3 out of the 4 blends were aged in Chardonnay barrels, so that's where you get that heavy Chardonnay flavor, and that's what they intended to do. I mean, that's what the description says. And I'm not. It's interesting that I love roll out the barrel so much because I'm not a Chardonnay drinker, and it's kind of the same is true for this. But I think the Chardonnay aging does something to beer that it pulls something else out of it that you just don't get out of drinking a Chardonnay.
Well, yeah, it lightens the beer up, if that's the right terminology, in flavor. You know what I mean? Like it. Yeah, it's the only thing I really say about that. I mean, but I think it adds more depth to the Chardonnay. You know what I mean? Like there's more flavor there than just that Chardonnay when you drink a glass of Chardonnay. So it's good.
I would agree with that. I mean, when you Chardonnay is I wouldn't say I'm a Chardonnay drinker, but if I was to drink white, if I was to drink white wine, I would select Chardonnay over.
Really?
Is it the drier of them? Or no?
It is.
It's a dry white.
Yeah, it's a dry white, and that's kind of. I like the drier wines. Like I like a Merlot. I like a Chardonnay.
Yeah, when it comes to wines, I love the drier the better in a dry red specifically.
I like moist myself.
I don't do the Moscatos and Rieslings.
Oh
and
no,
those things.
I can't. Zinfandel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
all of a sudden we turned into a wine show.
I do like Chardonnay, but you're
we're
right.
an alcohol show. Remember?
It's an alcohol show.
When you drink a Chardonnay, the flavor you get is the same flavor all the way through. And now I'm sure there's some wine, experts out there that would say that I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but in my experience,
there's some beer people that would say that too.
There's people that say it every day. Go fuck yourself. But in my experience, it's not like the complexity of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's more dimension. I'm pleasantly surprised. I think when we saw the picture and we saw that it was going to be a lighter beer, I was disappointed at first.
I was disappointed when I saw it was only 8% ABV.
Well, of course you were. But I was like, okay. But now that I've had it, it's very good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And unfortunately, it didn't make that much, he said, so.
It's just had about 5.3%, and I'm good to go.
I think that it actually intrigued me when I saw that it was a different color, because the more, we talked a little bit about this earlier today, Adam, that Imperial Stouts, barrel aged beers are still my number one favorite style of beer, but we've had so many of them. I'm not going to say that I'm getting burned out on them, but I actually do look forward to something different, and this is definitely something different.
Totally agree. That's a great point.
And
I'm
excited about it.
Where are you at right now in the rating, Chad?
Oh yeah. We didn't do it.
Breaking our own rules here.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah. So we'll go ahead.
One beer.
Jake.
You brought it up.
Yeah, you said it. It's another parade of dogs tonight.
It's a specialty beer. I don't know how you compare this to anything. You can't even compare it to the old Cuvee.
That's what I was trying to think of
relative to.
You're right.
What am I rating this based off its uniqueness?
Right.
I think I'm going to start at a 4 to 5 and see where we go from there.
Yeah.
Because it's really good. I still don't quite know what I'm drinking. Like, is this something I would want to drink more often? I don't know. I'm super enjoying it right now.
Yeah. I'm actually going to go higher than that because I could drink more of this. It's sad that we don't have more bottles of it, but I'm gonna do 4.75. I think it's
Coming out strong.
really good. I really like it. It surprised me. It's not the right word, but light is the only thing I can really think of to say. Like it's not.
It's always the same, Adam.
It doesn't it doesn't hang there and sit there. Like
No, it
like the
doesn't.
viscosity of it, like it's not oily on your tongue or anything. It just kind of washes
It's dry.
itself out.
Yeah.
It's dry.
It's just
It's not
in
coating
fact, that's
your-
probably it. It's
Yeah.
dry and like the brutes are
Yep.
yeah, it's
Brewed
true.
IPAs. Yep.
It doesn't coat. Like
Yeah.
there's no. Yeah.
No legs.
Except a hint of, but not in a bad way. It just kind
No,
of.
that's what but I think a beer like this is not supposed to.
You know, it just
Yeah,
kinda
but the legs-
disappears.
But the legs of it, there's still some legs there, but it's not as strong. But like you said, you get the kind of the mango-y
It fades away.
after you let it sit there for a little
kind
bit.
of
You could you describe it as the legs being short and thick, rather than
I don't.
You see her face?
It's more like it just kind of finishes into a mango.
They're long and skinny and move really fast.
Nobody heard that.
So I'm guessing Chad's on. I could be wrong here, but my guess is he's contemplating secret scale.
He contemplates that whenever he cracks open a beer. Because again, secret scale is not even a real scale.
See,
It's totally made up in Chad's mind.
Chad, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like
You're wrong.
when I start drinking a beer, I don't know what number I start at, but the question for me usually is, okay, everybody starts here. Let's see how high up we go. I feel like when you start drinking a beer, and maybe it's just because you're more of an optimist or a nicer person than me, but I feel like every beer starts off at the top, and you're like, okay, is there anything I have to deduct points for? And if there's not, then it's just going to stay at the top.
That's actually the way I think of it.
Yeah.
Before I open it, it's a 5. But I can't say that because I know usually with this beer like the style, I'm like it's not gonna be that. But as I drink it, I am looking for what don't
can you
I
take
like?
away? Yeah.
What am I taking off of this?
I think it's pretty accurate to the way I think about it as well. Because I mean, my rule is if there's nothing I don't like about the beer, it's a 5, and that doesn't mean that it's the best beer ever, but it just means that there's nothing I don't like about it.
But what is the implication with the
Wait,
5?
pause before we get into the debating this scale, which we always fucking do. Like seriously, it's probably a majority of our shows we're debating this fucking scale.
I'm not even
Let's
debating.
just ditch the scale. Go ahead, give us your score.
Did I get my 3 beers sound effect?
I'll do it again.
Oh, there it is. So very quickly, I went and looked up what I rated Roll Out the Barrel. And not that I'm comparing it to Roll Out the Barrel, but because it's another beer aged on Chardonnay barrel.
But I think it's the closest thing you
it's
can.
the closest thing I can rate to it. And I actually can say I like it better than Roll Out the Barrel. So Roll Out the Barrel is a 4.5. So I don't think there's really anything I don't like about this one. So I'm going to go out of the gate at a 5. Not secret scale,
Okay.
but I'll go 5.
I'll be brief. I'm not turning this into a debate. I think
can.
this is a
You
fair
can if you want.
question.
Well, hey, I wanted to see what Gina thought.
Is Gina ready?
But you
I
have to-
didn't
you have to
see
get up here on
Gina's.
the mic.
I didn't see Gina sniff it.
Yeah, get up here on the mic, girl.
Oh, you go, Jake. I don't know if I have it. I don't know if
We already
It's
went.
your turn,
It's your
girl.
turn. You're the only one left. You got to talk up here.
Chug,
Back
chug,
there, nobody
chug,
can hear you.
chug.
It's delicious. I really like it.
What did she say?
You're like,
I don't know. There was a
stupid
lot of
fucking
mumbling there. Dumbass dude.
oh, did you sit on a screw?
No,
Over here. Over here. Mike's over here.
Okay, it's really, so here I have to tell you the one thing. So when I drank it,
I'm closing my
interestingly
eyes.
enough, it didn't surprise me by the look of it.
There we go.
So when I was looking at it, I expected it to taste somewhat like it tasted. I'm trying to figure out like how much of it I would want to drink. You guys are very interesting when you talk about like you start at 5 and you reduce. Maybe it's interesting enough because you're more of a pessimist and well, you're both more realists, I would say. I'm definitely more
They're
of an
dicks.
Yeah. I'm more of an optimist. So here's what I think about this. I think this is actually one of those beers, a barrel-aged beer that some of my friends who don't really drink beer would actually drink. Like I think Brittany would like this because it's a little bit sweeter.
I think she would
right?
too. Yeah.
Right, because it's the wine. And I think, oh, Leah would like this. Lauren, I think Lauren could do like a 5-ounce taster of this because it's a little bit sweet. It's not overly heavy on any kind of note. It's kind of an easier drinker. But I got to tell you guys, there's nothing that significantly stands out to me on this beer. Like, I think that because I know it's Cuvee, I'm thinking like, oh, this is going to be something real. And it's different, and I can't think of anything that I can necessarily compare it to. Like Chad was saying, roll out the barrel, and I would agree. I haven't had many other beers that have been aged in wine barrels, specifically like a Chardonnay, like a lighter wine. I mean, I've had some that have been barreled in like a cab barrel, but this is just really, really different. So I think that when you look at it, the flavors mirror to kind of what you see. It's a light beer. It's a really smooth beer. It's semi-sweet beer. Not that I would drink it again because it's Cuvee and it's hard to get, so it's kind of a treat. But I'm not like, I don't know that I'm at your 5. I'm not as low as a 4. I'm not quite sure where I fall yet. I think I have to keep drinking it. I think that I'm really, I think that it's a really different kind of beer. And I know that Three Sheeps, like that's kind of what they're about. They're about making drinkable beers that are a little bit different. And this is definitely on that line, but I'm not quite sure where it falls yet.
I agree. Very drinkable, but I'm still not. I don't know if I have the wow factor. I need wow factor. I was going to ask you, Chad.
It's got to be wooed.
See, I don't look at a beer for wow factor.
Well,
I mean,
I expect
the wow factor is the rare.
I expect a lot of Cuvee, and maybe that's not fair. But I mean, we're talking about a blended beer, a special beer. So I don't know. When you say 5.
You mean the number 5? Do you
as a
mean
rating relative
5-0
to
like
the scale that
police?
I know that we get into a debate about, and probably doesn't mean anything in the big picture. I get that.
Just like IBUs.
But if we're just pretending that it means something, or that it's relative to how you feel about a beer, what does a 5 mean to you? Does that mean like anytime you're at a store, you're buying as much as you can? Does that mean you're recommending it to people? Like, what does a 5 mean? I mean, are you ready to get out the tissues and lotion? I mean, like,
what do you understand?
like,
because he's crying?
No, because there are beers
like you're always going to remember it.
There are beers that are 5s that I pass up all the time.
Okay.
So a good example, my favorite IPA is Green 19 from Titletown, and if that's on the shelves everywhere, I don't buy it every time I see it. It's just my favorite version of a standard IPA.
Fair enough.
So, to me, it just signifies it would be a favorite of that category.
Well, we're different, but I wasn't asking you because there was a right or wrong. I was truly just wanting to understand like what that meant to you.
Yeah, it's literally just if I can't find something in the beer that I say, this is off a little bit, or I'm not quite getting it. I mean, I could have a regular old amber ale that's the best one of an amber ale, then I would get a 5. So it has nothing to do with rareness. The rareness and the specialty of drinking something comes in this experience of drinking it, not through the rating.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I would agree to disagree a little bit.
That's fine.
But I understand what you mean, and I think it's a valid point.
Well, I don't think your point's valid, so no, I'm kidding.
I just can't give something a 5 that I can get at any time. There's something, I'm a romantic. There's something to the looking and the hunting and the finding and knowing what they put into it and knowing that it's in this case a blend. I mean, it's just different for me when I think of what a 5 is. A
Casper would be another good example. You can get it anytime, anywhere now. It used to be you couldn't. It used to be it was limited and they weren't going to produce it anymore. Well, then they decided to make it and bottle it all the time now, and especially on tap. This is nitro on tap. In the bottles, it's not. But that beer, even though it's readily available, that's still a 5 in my book. I love drinking that beer.
Well, to contradict myself, because you are making a valid point, if I could get Death Tar at any time, anywhere, I don't think I would go down from a 5. So that directly contradicts my previous position. But I suppose, there's always exceptions to the rule, right?
Yeah.
Well,
speaking of Revolution, Total Wine and Brookfield was getting more Straight Jacket.
Ooh.
I have a buddy, so listen to this. This is the guy that used to live in Chicago for a long time, was totally into craft beer before I was. Used to be able to go get, I don't know, anything they were doing Deepwood series back in, when did Revolution start? 2012, that guy left Goose, somewhere around there. So back in the early days, my buddy could go buy their bombers, their good shit for $12,
yeah,
$15. No lines. Nobody was fighting him for it. No problem getting it. He's the one that moved to Grand Rapids, and right around the time he was moving is when Revolution started blowing up, and got more expensive, got a little more competitive to get.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's telling me that now in the last, it started last year, but it's full force this year. Revolution being available in stores is exploding over there. There is stacks of Straight Jacket at his local Meijer.
Really?
Along with, he could get Death by Currents. He could get Cafe Death.
If we
Death
can
Tar.
get Revolution on, because I was tweeting with them before the series, Deepwood series came out, and they said after this release, check back, and I just haven't done it yet. But I would love to ask them, because we've seen this happen with other breweries. We have Founders as one,
Sure.
right? What is that? We're right here.
Felt it here.
We're right here, and we can't find it.
Maybe
to
they look at the
fucking
Channel
lives.
Lakes as some sort of.
Well, is it?
It could be.
I don't know.
I've
I don't know
heard
what it
Juul's very hard to work with, and I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, but I have heard that from my buddy that works getting in their distribution.
Oh.
Yeah, I've heard that's tough.
The only place I found it around here is Meijer, which surprises me.
Well, so my buddy Brian's I'm a little surprised how hard they're going because of the local competition that exists here in Grand Rapids.
And maybe that's why.
And I was like, well, maybe they just assume there's a lot of beer drinkers and they're used to paying for good beer, and so that's actually what attracted them to it.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, I actually having him get me some Straight Jacket, and it's just funny to me that here I am in Illinois. Granted, I'm not in Chicago. I'm, on almost the border, but still, it's easier for my buddy in Grand Rapids to get Revolution than
Well,
me.
it was easier for my coworkers in San Francisco to get CBS and KBS than it was for us.
Dallas Dan saw stacks of it.
Dallas Dan. Dallas Dan, last year, Bourbon
Good,
County.
yeah.
So it's I don't know.
That's another one. Isn't there a second release? I found it very difficult just to get the regular brand stout this year. It was easier to get some of the variants. Yeah, where's the brand stout?
Yeah.
Just the basic.
But last year there seemed to be a second kick of it later.
Right. Did that not happen?
Maybe not yet.
Well,
what you're saying.
Brand Stout and the barley wine was available for a long time last year on a second round. Because Antioch had stacks of the barley wine.
Now, speaking of, yeah, they did. You're right. They had stacks of both of it for a long time last year. Speaking of, though, I don't think we ever actually talked about this. I think you Marco Polo'd both of us, right? About our 2015s.
Oh, yeah.
Did I?
No, I wasn't on that.
So he looked up our 2015s have the date range of the infected.
The soured.
Ooh.
Right. So I'm like, he's like, just remember when we open it, and I'm like, well, now I want to open it more. I want to see.
Are we going to know?
See how bad
is
it
going
is?
to be Funkalicious?
Yeah.
Would you know?
It won't taste like
the one we had on
you
tap.
drink it, you'd be like, what the fuck happened to this beer?
Why there's somebody shit in my beer?
I guess it sours it, right?
It tastes a bit nutty. Shit,
It's a bit nutty.
So, whenever we decide.
Yeah, it was bottled on October 26th, and that's one of the 7 days.
7 days that they identified. And at the time, you were able to take that bottle back and get a refund. That's probably what happened. That's why this guy had some of it. So the distributor still had it.
Well, yeah, probably just sat somewhere thinking we're going to get the refund, and then they forgot to do it, and then all of a sudden the refund period's over with, and we're going to put this on the shelves and get rid of it.
So let me ask you guys. I was having this conversation with my Grand Rapids buddy Bry. We were debating because he was talking about should I age. He asked me, "Are you aging any of your?" Because now that he can get it, are you aging any of your straight jacket? Are you aging any of your Death Tar? I said I'm going to age 1 can of straight jacket, and I'm going to age. I have 1 4-pack of Death Tar. I was like, I don't know how it ages in a can, but we'll find out. Anyways, we started getting into this conversation. Is it best to drink it when the beer comes out? Or is it best, or is aging, is there still validity to aging? Does it matter if it's can, bottle, blah, 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 blah. And we started laughing about how founders did it like, hey, drink your CBS now. And I started telling him how if you go to Revolution, it says keep it cold, drink it. Like they've been updating some of the copy there on the site. And we both started just discussing whether or not that was just clever of them to get people to drink what they have so they keep buying
Go
more,
buy more.
or if it really was them trying to help us drink it when it's best so we remember it best. But where the conversation led to, which I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, is what happens if you have a yearly release that's a popular release? KBS, CBS, Death Tar, Cuvee, whatever it is. What happens if, like, you go to the head brewmaster and the brewmaster's like, you know, and this has to be done by, we have to start bottling by X date, you know, Feb 15th to get this out by March 1st. Like, what if the brewmaster says, it's not ready? I've tasted it. It's not ready. I don't approve this. And the salespeople, the owners, who's ever making the decisions, like, I don't give a shit. Like, we have deadlines we have to make. Like, so I guess my question to you guys is, once you get big and once you have something that's popular and makes money, like, does the brewmaster really have control to stop something from going out?
I would say if it's a good brewery, they have the ultimate control in it. You know, because most breweries, not working in one, but from what I understand, they're the ones that would dictate whether it goes or not, and then
that's what we've been led to believe,
right?
And I'm not saying anybody's told me different. I'm just thinking about it from the business perspective.
Well, you're the ultimate skeptic, so
I am a skeptic. That's fair. But I work in business every day, and speed to market and hitting deadlines means something. And it seems like a natural conflict of interest.
Except my wife, she doesn't like to hit deadlines at work.
I think that.
She had a very bad.
Was that the right day to make that comment?
That's exactly why I made it. She had a very, very bad week at work where she missed a deadline. Not her fault. Not her fault.
She's kicking and streaming, and the double-barreled fingers went up, I think.
Yeah, but I get
came out quick.
I get double barrel fingers all the time, so it's not.
Okay,
that's how they say I love you.
So here's my thought on this.
I love you.
I think that it's not necessarily the case with like Cuvee, because this is a different blend every year. But in yearly releases like KBS, CBS, something that
Surly Darkness,
even to an extent, even though it's a little bit different every year.
Or what's the one that Three Floyds does? That's huge.
Yeah, Darkness Days.
Darkness Days.
Yeah. No.
Well, they release it on Darkness Days.
Oh, okay.
I forget what it's called, but
well, Darkness.
It's just
I
Darkness,
thought that's what
right?
it was called.
I think this goes back probably to the
Dark Lord.
Thank
the
you.
first release. So the brewmaster probably had unlimited control of the first time this stuff came out.
Sure, totally makes sense.
And it's
Wasn't
not
even
going to come
popular
out
yet.
until it's ready.
Totally makes sense.
So once the first one's ready, he or she now knows that's how much time it took to age properly, and now we can do this. And going forward, this is the schedule. So
I hear you, but there's variables. I mean, there could be a harsher
but
winter. There could be we didn't get the exact same barrels that we got last time.
I think maybe that's why there's a difference in some of the Surleys. A brewery like Founders is getting big enough now where I think the control of their barrels is probably better than most.
And as well as Goose.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the start.
That's fair.
Thought by
They're
by
cornering
many
the market
they
on
started,
buying barrels.
Well, they started this
Yeah.
whole barrel aging phenomenon we have now. So
Yeah.
they've been doing it for a long time. So I think for them, it's they have the process down, right? When they do it, they know what's going to happen.
But we're also only 4 years out of them releasing a significant amount of beer with bacteria in it.
Yeah. It happens though. I mean, it even happens to other breweries all the time. We just don't hear about it because it's not Goose.
I'm not saying that's what happened, but we don't know that didn't have a part of it. Like, this shit's got to get out.
No, the
I'm not
bacteria-
saying that's what happened.
The bacteria wouldn't be because they went too quickly. The bacteria would be because they didn't clean their shit right.
Fair. Well, but couldn't that be because they were moving too quickly? Or
could
should
be,
somebody
yeah.
have caught that in testing and said this isn't ready to go?
Right, yeah.
That's
We
all.
also, I mean, we also don't know what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, what if this wasn't what Cuvee 2019 was supposed to be?
Great question.
Well, but how many of these beers are pleasant surprises?
Yeah,
Where you crack it open, you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be, but holy
It's
shit,
really good,
it's
yeah.
really good, right? Like,
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that happens every time we homebrew.
yeah, yep.
Every single time.
Every single time.
Yes.
We crack it open, we're like, hey, that actually tastes good. Like, okay, you know?
I can still see. Yeah. That's true.
I still have the skin on my leg after brewing. We're fine.
Well, and I'll just wrap it up by saying, like, I didn't really want to come off as a skeptic. I was just thinking about, when you're making such a good thing that's so highly anticipated, I wonder if there's ever this just natural conflict between
I would
the brewmaster saying when it's going to be ready and
I would
when the
imagine
rest
it
of
happens-
operations is like, we need this going.
I would imagine it happens in breweries.
Yeah.
I would imagine there are definitely some breweries that happens in.
Especially when the owner is a different person than the brewmaster.
That's what I was actually at the point I was going
Yeah.
with. When the businessman is the owner and not the brewer, I think I would see it happening more there. But when the owner is the brewmaster,
Which is the
as
case
in
here.
Three Sheeps,
Yep.
Right.
He understands the business, but he also knows the beer.
He's also, in some sense, it's his name, and he doesn't want to put out a shit product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
How do we start on this?
It was a conversation
One of
that I
Jake's
got into
harebrained
with,
ideas.
That was the conversation you're having with your buddy, right?
Grand
About-
Rapids Bry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, midway points. Anything change for you fellas? Warming up it all out there?
It's actually I thought as it warmed up it wouldn't be as good, just with the kind that it is, but it's actually just as good, if not a little bit better. More Chardonnay fruitiness to me is coming out as it warms up, which surprises me because usually to me that is better cold. But
the rule for drinking a white wine, as explained to me by what are they called? Wine masters? What's the person that makes the wine? Head winemaker?
the person that makes the wine,
Head winemaker?
yeah,
Like a
Head-
brewmaster. What's
the
the
wine
wine
head.
What's the guy or gal that makes the wine?
Sir Wino.
Anyway, it was explained to me that
We're mainly a beer
Was
show.
this
even
a
though we're
dreamy
not
head
called
chat?
it. Yeah, right.
there is a 15-minute rule for both whites and reds. What?
Vintner, is that what you said?
Vintner?
Vinter.
Okay. I will
Vinter?
Vinter. Yes, the
I will
Vinter.
Google this shit.
I did. The Vintner.
With a white wine,
Isn't that a potato chip? Anyway, go ahead.
with a white wine, you're supposed to take it out of the cellar, refrigerate it for an hour, open it, and after 15 minutes, start drinking it. And as it warms from being in the refrigerator, the flavors, the really really good flavors, really start to come out with white wines. So maybe that's what's happening here. We
I'll
chilled
have to
it,
start doing that. Take it out of my cellar. Wine cellar.
Yeah.
and then the 15-minute
Well,
rule.
your cellar's so big it takes 15 minutes to walk from the cellar back to the kitchen. So
The 15-minute rule also applies to
Remember what
reds.
cooler I stuck it in the basement?
that's the problem. Which one is it in? You have,
The-
a
the
spreadsheet for that. I guess I'm interrupting you on purpose. You have a spreadsheet for that, don't you?
Yeah, but the reds is
Actually,
more
I
important than the
drew, I
white.
drew a map, but I have to get into my map.
Damn it! I'm finishing the fucking sentence. I don't care how many times you.
My name is Chad.
I'm gonna unplug all your fucking microphones.
Would you have a spreadsheet? Tab 1 is cooler 1. Tab 2 is cooler 2. What's in there?
I drew a map with crayons.
What's the X? That's where my favorite beers are.
What's the stick figure with titties? Don't ask.
Don't ask. There's special beer there. Are you gonna drink this?
All right. Well, since nobody's talking, I'm going to tell you the 15-minute rule for the reds as well,
I can't wait. Go
which
for it.
is take it out of the cellar, chill it only for 15 minutes, open immediately, and serve.
Oh, Chad bought it.
No, I bought this one.
Oh, all right.
How do you know that's the bottle that came out of?
Just the fucking So what was the 15-minute rule again? I was joking. Shut up.
Chad, it's so rude, but you're probably the funniest person I know to interrupt. Like, nobody likes getting interrupted, but the murder eyes are just classic.
But I'm always laughing when I'm giving murder eyes.
But it's that smile that's like, I'm going to stab you later. And it's so funny.
You know what? You're like my wife when you get in space. You just get lost.
Oh, man.
Is he still married to that?
I don't know.
whoever
Every
this is-
time I play that clip, I'm like, how can he still be with that lady?
I think, how could that lady be with him?
Yeah, right.
That's, either way. But,
I won't talk nice to you and talk about fornicating with you.
his wife's got to be still with him, right?
I'm gonna look right now, unless you can be
For
faster.
which one?
John Gruden.
Gruden.
Oh, there you go. Married in 91.
Yep, still married.
Cindy.
Well, to her credit, and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling her a gold digger. I'm just calling her a smart business woman. That guy did sign a 10-year, $100 million deal, so it might be worth putting up with his insanity.
I mean, think how little she has to see him, though.
Yeah, exactly. She basically has her own life,
Right.
completely funded.
He's a complete asshole. I never seen him anyway.
Yeah.
I don't care.
He's such a weird looking dude.
He looks like Chucky.
Yeah, especially in this picture right there.
Well, and then when he makes that face with the eyebrow, he definitely looks like Chucky.
He's
the
strange.
He's a strange dude.
He is a strange dude.
He's gotten crazier as he's gotten older.
My name is John.
God, that was fucking loud.
What?
Warn me next time I'm going to turn your mic down. Jeez.
I gotta do it back here. My name is John.
There we go. That's much better.
You're getting good at that. Do you
I'm telling you, I'm
that while
practicing
you're
when
talking?
when I'm working on my tugboat. That's what I do. Is just
But just so everybody listening, he's actually building a tugboat. That's like, it's not a euphemism
Yeah,
for anything like
I don't know what you guys are thinking about. Talking about him building his tugboat.
Every
time I'm tugging, I just my name is Chad.
I guess we should take this opportunity to plug your other channel.
Yeah,
Wisco Boater on YouTube. You can actually watch him build his tugboat.
Yeah.
Watch him while he tugs.
Got there will be.
Mark will be like, I'm going to go out there and tug away. I'm like, what the dude, seriously?
I'm gonna go play with my tug
Play
for a
with
little
my
bit.
tug for a little bit. Like, oh god, shut up.
Stop
Yeah.
playing with your dinghy.
By the time, when this episode of Beard Hops comes out, I'll have about 25 episodes out.
Damn,
Good
Chad.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Three subscribers.
YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wisco Boater.
Wisco Boater
Yeah.
I'll
on
subscribe.
the YouTubes.
I'm surprised. Have you got copyright strike yet?
Nope.
Because I have music playing sometimes in the background on the radio, and I'm like, oh.
Every time I'm editing video,
he's going
I'm
to get
like,
a copyright strike.
Yep. Every time I'm editing, I'm like, I probably should turn the background music down just a little bit.
You know, we've gotten copyright strike
We have.
several times.
Yeah.
For the
I'm
Simpsons.
not worried about it.
Oh, we have for The Simpsons?
Yeah. So the first time we got it, Chad and I were talking, and unless we were also using the video of our intro, now we just use the audio of our intro, we don't use the video. And Chad and I were talking, we're like, well, how do we get around this? I'm like, I worked long and hard on that damn edit. I really don't want to redo
I still think
it.
this would be fun to do, though.
Yes. So what we talked about doing, and like you said, it'd still be fun to do, is redo each clip, but with us.
That would be amazing.
Like use Gina as Marge,
That would be
be
hilarious.
here, yeah. So we've actually talked about
What
it.
do they actually do when that happens?
So
Is there a
there's
fine?
several different kinds. And it's all depending on who the copyright holder wants to do. So the strike against us is a monetization strike, which joke's on you. We don't make any money.
Right.
But if that video was to make money, we wouldn't get any of it. The copyright holder would get the money.
All of it, regardless of the rest of the content.
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. So, or the copyright holder can do take it down, and then YouTube will delete it. So,
But their thing right now is if it makes any money, they want the money.
yeah.
And we don't make any money, so we can just keep using it.
Right, exactly. That's why I was like,
The system works.
When I told him about it, he's like, well, what now what? And then we got to take it down. I was like, nope, we don't make a damn penny off this.
Wasn't
so-
there a rap song that we used one time that you got We played too
I
long
am
of it.
surprised we haven't gotten taken down for the Friday morning beer review song.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the one I'm surprised we haven't gotten anything on yet.
You know, I use that clip every single
week,
and I still don't know who that chick is that sings that
I can't
song.
remember either. But we've used it every Friday for over a year now.
Yeah.
And we haven't gotten hit on
Actually,
that one.
use the video.
We
and
use the video too.
Song.
Yeah.
Think about it though. Like, how many people must just use Simpson stuff?
Yeah. But it depends. Like, if you use a very short clip, no big deal. But if you, like, we use all except one of those clips. One of the clips is a Family Guy. The rest of them are all Simpsons. So my assumption is the length of what we're using is the reason. But again, we only got it once on a couple videos. We haven't got it on every single video. So
Yeah.
So I don't know what that was about. But yeah, the YouTube copyright stuff is funny. So, but now I just download the free music that YouTube offers to play on the background and stuff. Avoid that stuff. But I'm not taking the Simpsons down unless we shoot our own. So, any beer news? I guess.
Bear news?
Bear news.
To the bear news.
Well, we could real quickly talk about who we're having on.
I think that's a good idea.
For an interview tonight. It's going to be Greg Avola. Again, I hope I'm saying that right. He is the co-founder of Untappd. If you don't know what Untappd is, then I don't know where you've been because we talk about it every show.
This must be your first time listening to our show.
Even if it's the first time listening
In which
to the
case,
show,
I'm
you
sorry.
still should know. If you're a beer drinker, you should know what Untappd is.
Yeah, one thing I kind of interesting to ask him, obviously besides, the startup process and the idea where it came from, all that good stuff, but when you look on beer Twitter, there is a divide. There's an absolute love of Untappd, and there's people who absolutely hate it and think it's the worst thing
really
ever. Yeah, there are people that are just adamantly against rating beers.
See, and here's what I would say to those people. I think
Get a life.
I think what
Calm the fuck down.
They're taking it too serious. What they're against is like this whole you stop trying to rate everything.
Exactly right.
I'm a beer purist. I'm gonna go, throw an axe and wear my flannel and whatever they do. I don't know. I actually wear flannels, but you know what I mean. It's like
tomorrow.
a crunchy.
You wear flannels? I've never seen you wear a flannel.
I don't look great in them, but I do.
It's because his mouth is so small.
Yeah, it throws the whole flannel,
the whole everything off,
and you need a much longer beard.
The reason I like Untappd is really just because it's a really good app. It's well built. It's just fun.
And it's super easy to use and search. And
yeah, it helps me remember what I drank, if I liked it. Like, I legit look, when I'm looking at a beer and I'm trying to decide to buy it, yes, I look at the global rating, but I look and see which one of my friends have had it and like what they think of it. We post comments to each other on there. It's a way for me to stay in touch with my beer buddies that are, strewn around the country.
Yep.
So it really has nothing to do with like shaming or judging or, the rating is just, it's just for fun. It's not serious.
It's just a cool social app, social network. I mean, I mentioned this guy, Chris, before. I won't say his last name because I don't know if he wants me to, but I have not met Chris yet. But
I haven't met Carl.
We're
nobody has.
We're friends through Untappd, and we use Untappd as a text app. And I'm looking forward to meeting Chris at some point, just because we like the same types of beers, and he's actually close by to where I live, and at some point I'll meet up with him. And
see, it's also great as a dating app. So
all of a sudden, Chad disappears. We never hear from him again.
Yeah. Chad gets Pokemon into an alley. So shifting gears here, what is your favorite cereal from when you were a kid?
What
Chad,
the fuck is this?
or Adam, you're Frosted Flakes, right? Or what's the one? No. Captain Crunch. Damn it, I knew that. Chad,
Lucky Charms.
All right. Gina?
Raisin Bran.
Oh,
As a kid?
God.
boring.
She's
Raisin Bran?
She liked to have good shits even as a kid.
So, anyways, Smart Mouth Brewing Co., a brewery in
I knew there was a
Norfolk,
point to that question.
Virginia, known for its wild flavor creations,
Wild
is
and
releasing
crazy.
a Lucky Charms flavored IPA beer.
Yes.
And apparently, it's magically ridiculous.
Magically
The
That was
IPA
that was
is
horrible. That was absolutely horrible.
Made by tossing pounds of marshmallows, some which were toasted, along with tropical fruity Calypso hops.
Ooh.
Yeah, the result is a sweet and fruity taste that will remind you of your favorite cereal. And to wrap it up here, it is 6.6 ABV and released on draft and in 16-ounce pint cans.
Where's this brewery at?
And they're going to celebrate this with a Saturday morning event. This is in, what did I say, Norfolk?
Norfolk,
Virginia.
I've been out there and they say Norfolk.
I was a big Lucky
Like,
Charms.
no fuck. Norfolk.
Lucky Charms. I don't know if I had a favorite, but it was definitely top 3. And what Lucky Charms is, if you guys remember, the marshmallows, as good as they were, didn't really taste like.
No, they're just sugar.
Yeah,
Just
supposedly
dried sugar.
Supposedly they have changed the recipe and they actually taste a little bit more like you're eating marshmallows.
Really? I remember
And not
when the Purple
plastic
Horseshoe came
sugar.
out.
Ah, the purple. Yeah,
It wasn't an original
that was a
marshmallow.
big. That was a big to do.
It was.
Did they have commercials on it? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Purple Horseshoe.
That's all I got. I'm done.
Are we almost done?
Yeah, I'm about ready to finish her off here. Oh, Chad just went in.
Okay, real quickly, just because I thought the headline's kind of funny. Bud Light says trolling competitors increased transparency and interest in beer ingredients.
Did it increase interest in people drinking Budweiser?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're not wrong, but it's kind of funny that they're now. See, we're the
I
good
wonder if
guys.
they're regretting it.
We're taking the high road here.
But now they're trying to turn it into something good they did.
Yeah.
Or is the truth is now they just made more people care about knowing where their beer came from, which they probably didn't really want to do. They just wanted to throw shade at some competition.
Listen to this. According to Google Trends, search volume for corn syrup rose 353%, and corn syrup in beer rose 9,612% after Bud Light's ad aired at the Super Bowl.
I just love that the corn growers of America went after them.
I know.
That just fucking makes me
But
smile.
I think it's just funny. You got all these people sitting there watching the Super Bowl. They see that commercial.
Yeah.
They whip out their phones
Yeah.
and Google.
Immediately search for it.
Yeah, is there beer in my corn? There's a
Oh
corn in
my
my syrup in my
God.
beer.
They're turning my corn gay.
Yeah.
Trump turning our corn gay.
Trump turning our frogs gay?
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's a freak out moment among like 50 million people.
Additionally, 777% more people were searching for Bud Light ingredients on Google, as well as for Miller Lite and Coors Light ingredients. 1,833% for Miller and 1,375% for Coors.
Nobody was checking Busch Light or
No,
Keystone.
yeah, nobody's checking.
Natty
Yeah,
Ice.
yeah. I still, it surprised me, but I thought it was funny when Grant told us that they had, email within
within 30
minutes. That was kind of funny. So. All right.
Hilarious.
Let's wrap this biatch up.
One beer.
Jake, what do you say, Cuvee 19?
Here's the funny thing. I like it more, but I'm going to lower the rating.
You're killing me. Smalls.
I'm gonna
What?
I'm gonna I think this is Gina did a great job. This is an excellent drinking beer, but it's not.
You're killing me, Smalls.
It's an interesting beer. It's a unique beer. It's a complex beer, but it's just not especially great beer.
It's Jake from State Farm. Well, she's a guy, so.
So it's getting a 4. But it's good.
My name is Chad.
2 beers. Well, I'm going to actually lower mine as well. I'm coming off the 5. I think that if you could keep it really cold, I actually like it better cold. And I think that if you could keep it nice and chilled all the way through, I probably could keep it at a 5, but I'm actually going to drop it a half a point to a 4.5. Just because I think the Chardonnay flavor is a little bit not overdone. It's more present than it is in like a roll out the barrel. And I give it the same score as a roll out the barrel, based partially on its rareness. We got to drink it. We'll probably never drink it again. And I liked it enough initially to give it a 5, but I think
I
a
thought
4.
we didn't rate on rareness.
No, I said just I said that's a partial factor.
That escalated quickly.
In beers that are rare. Does that make sense?
I'm not going to get into it.
My name is Adam.
Creepy.
3 beers.
What's the other part of it? And I'm about to go or something. What?
My name is Adam, and I've had enough.
I've had enough.
I can't remember how I found that on YouTube.
It sounds like the dude from Taken.
Well, then there's this other one.
My name is Adam.
That's actually from a movie, but I don't know which one it is. Yeah, anyway. The guy that played Two-Face in Batman. That's the actor.
Tommy Lee Jones?
No, not that one.
Oh, the new Batman.
Yeah. The same actor that played that says that line. Anyway, does it really matter? So let's go to 3 beers. Let's get back to this here. My name is Adam. All right.
Why did I go back to a George Clooney Batman?
I'm Batman. It's George Clooney. I was at 4.75, right? I'm staying. I liked it as it warmed up. It's a little too sweet as it warmed up for me.
Yeah, that's true. It did get
so
sweeter.
That residual sweetness kind of lingers
sweet.
on the tongue, and it's just like that kind of. I don't like that all that much. I agree with you though. If you're able to keep it chilled and cold the whole time, yeah. I mean,
I think it'd be easier to drink if you could keep it cold the whole time.
I think it's easy to drink.
It's easy to drink overall.
No,
sweetness
I'm just saying
is
it's easier
Sweet-
if it when
when
it's
it's colder, it's
Yeah.
drier and
Yeah.
it goes down. When it warms, it's still good. It just gets sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's definitely good. I'm glad we had it. I'm glad the beer store guy, boy, child, whatever it was.
It was a man, but
Of course it was.
I mean,
Post-op or pre-op?
I don't know. Actually,
Actually,
You wearing?
all right. Well, so yeah, that is our beer for this evening. Now,
time for the interview.
time for the interview with Greg, and after the interview, we'll come back and say how awesome we were at it. That's
right.
Do. So,
Because we are awesome.
well, obviously. You have anything to say before I stop?
I mean, Greg's going to be a great interview. Really looking for a different topic than our other interviews have been. Not a beer podcaster, not a brewery-related employee.
Not a beer writer.
Not a beer writer. So it's going to be interesting. The only one that is going to be more different than Greg is probably when we interview Carl.
If nobody gets that joke, go to our last episode and just listen to the first 10 seconds of it.
It's hard to explain, but
You'll want to listen to the rest of it after.
You'll want to listen to the rest of it after that because the interview was awesome. But I will actually probably put that clip on the old soundboard here so we can. And who is Carl? All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Enjoy the interview with Greg, and we'll be back after that.
What was that?
That was his growly bear burp.
Oh, jeez.
I kept it in.
I didn't even sound like a
Somebody puked.
I didn't know what it was.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the interview section of the Bearded Hops podcast tonight. Tonight we have Greg Avola. Did I say that correctly? Avola?
You did.
Greg Avola from Untappd. And I'll let Greg do a quick intro here because he's the CTO and founder?
Co-founder, yep.
Co-founder of Untappd. And I think it's something that everyone in the beer world is probably familiar with. But
I hope so.
Yeah, so how you doing tonight,
so.
Greg? Just do a quick intro here, and then we'll get into some asking some questions.
Cool. Thanks for having me. My name is Greg Avola. Like you said, I'm the CTO and co-founder of Untappd. We founded Untappd back in 2010 of last year, or last year of 2010, not last year. And Untappd's a social beer network, for lack of a better word. So it allows you people to connect with bars, breweries, and restaurants, and also with your friends. So you can be able to see what they're drinking, what they rated it, and things like that. So it's all encompassing social platform that, the goal is to help people find beer and find friends and then find places to go.
Well, I got to tell you, Untappd has been an absolute joy to use, and it's something that keeps us beer nerds connected.
Yeah.
And I've actually made a couple of friends, and a couple of them I haven't even met yet. But I've made a couple of friends through the Untappd social network, and I think it's just a fascinating thing. I'll be honest with you, Greg. When I first heard about this app from my friend Mike Bullock, he told me about it a few years ago. I was not one of the early adopters in 2010. I honestly didn't know about it until about 2015, I think.
Right.
But my friend Mike told me about it. He's like, "You've got to get on Untappd. It's like Facebook, but for alcoholics."
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it is a good way to put it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's
no, of course not. Yep.
It's been an absolutely fun way to keep track of your friends and what's going on in the beer world. So
yeah, it's interesting because when we first started it, the goal was just my co-founder and I, we were just trying to think about ways to kind of enhance the whole Foursquare experience. So when Untappd first started, we were big Foursquare fans. So we would kind of check into places. He's from California, I'm from the New York area. So we just wanted to see where each other were physically located. But then we said, well, that's cool, but I don't really care that you're at a grocery store or anything of that nature. That doesn't really interest me. But if you're at a bar, what beer you're drinking there? And we thought about how beer is very inherently social, but there was no real-time representation of that online in the moment. So that's kind of where Untappd came from it. And most people don't know this. When we first launched Untappd back in 2010, we had no rating feature at all. Absolutely none.
Oh, wow.
So it was actually just check into a beer and tag your location, and that was it. We added a lot more as we kind of merged and gone through the system. But the simple premise of what we were trying to accomplish was simply just to be able to educate yourself about what beers are out there and what beers you liked. Because ultimately, you don't want to have a beer you hated and then 3 years later forget that you hated it and get it again and then be disappointed. So that was kind of the whole premise of how it all started and where we are today.
I think that's actually probably one of the biggest ways I use it. And I know our other co-host, Jake, well, especially Jake, he does it even more than me. When we go to like a beer store, he is constantly just scanning a beer, looking it up, scanning a beer, looking it up, and I'm just like, can I just grab a beer and let's go? But I always like to look up and see, have I had this before? And then, of course, I'll check if Chad's had it or Jake had and see what they thought about it. But what my wife and I recently started doing with this is because we have way too much beer in this house. And so this was like 2 months ago, I think, Chad, we did this. We took all the beer out of our beer fridge,
did inventory,
put it on our counter on our kitchen table, and I went through and I scanned all the beer and made it into like a my fridge list.
There you go.
Then we look back and we're like, holy shit, we have 70 different beers in here.
And it was more than that. It was like 77 or 78.
Okay, so I was 8 off. Okay, it's way down now, but it was pretty cool to see him be able to do that because her first thing was let's make a spreadsheet, and I was like, no, I don't want to do a spreadsheet.
That's old school right there.
Right, exactly. She's a project manager, so like spreadsheets is like where she lives. So yeah, it's been great.
The beer fridge thing is really cool.
Yeah,
it's actually a not a heavily used feature and something that we're trying to kind of educate more users about. So basically being able to go in there, create your own custom list, and being able to basically also, one of the other cool features is the ability to toggle whether you want the beer to be removed from your list after you check it in, which is great for beer sellers because if you have, for example, 4 quantities of a, I don't know, Bourbon County Stout or something like that in there, you can easily just remove one of them after you check it in, which is really great from that perspective.
Yeah, and we use that feature, although it's hard to get my wife to do that. We use that feature. I couldn't be a store or anything because I don't think my inventory is very up to date. But I think I have to look it up. I recently this past year started being a supporter of Untappd.
Yeah, thank you.
Because
Yeah,
we use it.
As did I.
Yeah, you did too. We use it on the show all the time. Every show we'll rate a beer. At the beginning of the show, we give our initial Untappd rating, what we think we're going to do. And then as we go through the show, we end up drinking the whole beer. And by the end of the show, like, this is our final rating, and we check it in on Untappd.
Nice.
And then Chad every Friday does a Friday morning beer review where he'll drink a little bit of it while he's still waking up on Friday morning. And he'll give his initial rating, but then he'll tell everybody, okay, go find me on Untappd to see what I end up rating it at the end. So we pimp. We love Untappd on this show, so
I appreciate that.
I mean, we were excited to see you on. So,
yeah, like I said earlier, Untappd was really kind of this. A lot of people say, "Oh, yeah, you built a really great community with the Untappd app," and my response always is, "Well, we didn't build a community; we just cultivated a community because there were tons of beer drinkers out there already. But I think this is something that we want to help provide a real-time experience for everyone to drink socially. So that's kind of where we came from. So I'm really happy you guys are supporters. It means a lot for me personally.
Well, we want to delve into the details of Untappd and the app and the business of it a little bit here, if as long as we have time to. But before we get into that, you have a beer festival coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And we just found out about this. We're excited about it. I'm not sure we're going to be able to make it, but if we can, I would love to go to it. And it's in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming up on May 4th. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's going to be on May 4th in Charlotte, North Carolina, like you mentioned, at the Bank of America Stadium. So that's the home
incredible.
of the Panthers. We're super excited. It's been a dream of mine to do this from the beginning of Untappd, and to be able to actually do this and get it out there is an amazing experience. And one of the things that we're so excited about, people use Untappd at festivals all the time, and we're being able to control the entire experience from the coming in the doors to the leaving the doors. So we have a lot of cool things planned with the app to have better integration for festivals, easier to check in, things like that. We're super excited about it. It's the first of its kind, but you saw the announcement. We're calling it Untappd Beer Festival Level 1, which kind of signifies that we're going to be doing more and more of these as we go along. So if you can't make the level 1 in Charlotte, there will be a level 2 and a level 3. So we're kind of keeping those little secret right now of where those will be. But definitely level 1 is in Charlotte on May 4th. And we hope you guys can come down. That'll be awesome. But that's the really exciting part of what we had this past week.
So they'll be in different cities then, right?
Yes, definitely different cities, and there'll be one in Europe as well.
Nice.
So we're super excited about going across the pond to be able to do that for our European users. But yes, there'll definitely be another city in the U.S. for well.
Nice.
Now, I love that you chose Untappd Beer Fest Level 1 because I mean it just totally goes right along with everything in the app, right? When you get the badges, and we can jump into badges here in a little bit. But last night, actually, we were recording a session show. What we call it session. We just kind of bullshit the three of us. And Jake, by the way, we really wish he could be with us tonight, but he had a family commitment that didn't work out. But the three of us last night were recording, and he had mentioned that he had reached 400 unique beers on Untappd. And he's like, I don't know what that means. I'm like, well, you're at level 4. Every 100 beers has got to be a level, right? So I think it's really cool that you chose to make the first, we'll call it annual show of Untappd Beer Fest as level 1. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of a play on names because we knew that people were going to be asking, well, I can't go to Charlotte. If you're going to do another city, how will I know you're actually going to do it? And we said, you know what? We already have this leveling system built into our badges, incorporated into our app. I mean, we had played around with ideas of, you've seen those concert T-shirts where they have all the cities on the back. We kind of had the same idea of something like that with the Untappd Beer Festival. So, again, I'm super excited about it. It's been something we're working on for a very long time. Like I've said in some of the stuff we've done before, it's the biggest thing, in my opinion, you've ever done with the Untappd app. So we're super excited about it.
So,
sweet.
Do you have a question, Adam?
No.
All right. So, sort of a two-parted question here. First of all, I don't know what your background is, so I kind of want to know where you came from. But
sure.
But considering where you came from, how does it feel now to have we'll call it a company of Untappd? I mean, we'll call it a company, right? It is a
it is a company.
or so you've got a company called Untappd, and now you're going to Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina.
This is
how does that feel?
It's surreal. I mean, first of all, my background, I graduated with computer science. I'm a programmer by trade, so you know that was my background. But you know, we started Untappd with just 2 people, and then you know, we merged with
who's the other founder, by the way?
So the other co-founder is actually Tim. He's actually no longer with the company, unfortunately. Okay. But so I'm not sure whether you call me the founder or the co-founder at this point, but whatever. Besides the point. But I think that the whole point of what we were able to accomplish here is we had a small 2-man operation, and now we have over 100 employees that work for Untappd. So it's unbelievable to see the growth of the company, where we started out in the small building in downtown Wilmington, North Carolina, and now we're in the entire building, first and third and middle floors. So, nice. You know, it's incredible. I mean, honestly, there are a lot of beer festivals out there that happen all the time. But for us to be on an NFL stadium to do this is unreal in my mind. So I'm super excited about it. And I think that we're going to have tons of great breweries there and tons of great experiences. So it's surreal. That's the best word I can describe it as.
It's got to be. It's got to be. Yeah. I mean, I don't care where you come from. If you can put together a festival of any kind, it's using an NFL stadium.
That's.
I mean,
there's not many out there, to be honest with you.
Right.
We did some research.
You've got to work with the stadium. I don't know if you had to get permission with the NFL or what kind of permissions had to be done here, but in order to use a venue like that, I mean, you've got to have some clout. So that shows how well I think Untappd has been accepted across the United States and probably across the world.
It's crazy because I never thought in a million years that we'd have a festival, first of all. But second of all, we had a story on NBC Sports yesterday talking about how the Panthers are going to hold the Untappd Beer Festival, which is like one of the first new kind of non-football events they're going to carry at the Bank of America Stadium. So just to be even on like a page like that is insane, crazy to me. So I think it's a step forward from what we've heard from the Panthers is that they want to have more and more events that are held at the Bank of America Stadium. I think only been 2 concerts outside of football events that have happened in the history of the stadium, and will be the 3rd non-football event, which is incredible with a company like ours. It's not like a Google or a Facebook. You know, we're still kind of a small, scrappy startup here, so it's pretty awesome to be able to have this event at that large stage.
That's very cool, man. I mean, I got to give it to you, man. I got to give you props.
Thank you.
It's an amazing thing. I mean, if I had a company I mean, I live in Wisconsin, so I'm a Packers fan, and I can't imagine if I had a company of 100 people, if I went to Lambeau Field and said, now it's outdoors, of course, but I mean, if I went to Lambeau and said, hey, in August or July or whatever, before the season starts, I'd like to have a beer fest. They'd be like, right.
Yeah, I mean, we got very lucky. You know, our COO is very close with a couple of friends that are part of the Panthers organization, so that helped us get it kind of in the door there. But you know, I think we just kind of got lucky. I think Untappd overall success is warranted on the craft beer revolution. And in 2010, when we started, that's when kind of craft beer was taking off. We kind of got lucky in that avenue where we started the app and it just kind of rose with the craft beer waves. And I think the same thing here where the Panthers were looking for more people to kind of test out non-football events, and we kind of came to the table and we got lucky there. But, you know, never in a million years I thought this would be possible. So I'm super excited about the event.
Now, when I found Untappd, and I do this with all apps, really, I go and see, okay, what other apps out there are like this? Like, is this the best app that I can find for whatever it is I'm trying to do? And
right.
And so that brought me to, I think it was Rate Beer. Beer Advocate was a 1-2. But I have to ask you, with the somewhat recent news of Rate Beer, you know, what... I'll say first, at first, when we first started doing this podcast a little over a year ago, we kind of used them all. Like, we would talk about a beer and we check Untappd, we check Rate Beer, we check Beer Advocate and see what everybody was saying about it. And then we heard InBev owned Rate Beer, and we're like, okay, well, screw that. We're not going to use that one anymore. Check that one out the window. And we end up just coming and using Untappd only. What are your thoughts on that, on the, you know, InBev, well, now owning all of Rate Beer?
Right. I mean, you know, we don't look at ourselves as part of the competitors from that perspective. Just like the brewing industry, we really kind of support any type of movement toward the craft revolution or just beer in general education. But we've heard from many brewers that are disappointed with the decision that was made from the rate beer side. But from our perspective, we've always been focused on making sure that the experience for the customer is or the user is top notch. So we've always had very simple rating systems, 1 to 5 or 0 to 5 is your kind of a threshold. Other sites have done 0 to 100 or different things like that. We always try to make it very simple from the users to kind of get through a rating perspective there. But I think it's really important to be transparent with users. I think that's the number one thing we've tried to do on our entire history. If something big happens, we want to be able on the forefront to be able to tell them that before somebody else hears about it somewhere else. I think that's in the beer industry, that's incredibly important. If you're a brewery and you get bought out by another brewery, you should be transparent enough. Tell your customers, hey, by the way, I'm now owned by ABC or whatever it is. So I think it's always important to do. Tell your users exactly when these things happen. Don't wait 6 months, years, or something like that to kind of let the news out. If you're transparent and you let people know you're real fans and your real people will still stick with you. But if you're not going to be truthful on what your ownership is, it's really important for users to do that, which is why we actually implemented something called a subsidiary feature on Untappd for breweries about almost a year and a half ago. So if a brewery is bought out by another brewery, for example, we'll show the user right in the app and on the website who owns that particular brewery. So when Lagunitas was bought out by Heineken for the first 49% back in the early days, we didn't put anything specifically on that. But now if you search for Heineken on the app, you'll see a subsidiary of Heineken or Lagunitas. You would see a subsidiary of Heineken on the app itself. So it's a great way to kind of educate users about where the brewery is owned by, so you can make a decision, whatever your preferences are on that situation.
That's really, I actually hadn't even noticed that, but I just did.
I didn't either.
I just looked up Lagunitas while you were saying, and there you go. I have to throw this in because Jake would be upset if we didn't mention this. He had the idea that he wanted to pitch to you of using the Craft Beer Association's bottle.
Yes.
That when you go to whatever Three Sheeps Brewery here in Wisconsin, that craft beer. Not everybody's coughing. I better not start coughing, you guys. This is going to be bad.
Sorry.
That when you go and you check in that beer, or you just look at that beer, that bottle shows up and immediately identifies them as being part of craft. So there you go. There you go, Jake. I said it.
We've actually worked with the BA a lot. We have you probably have seen it, the craft beer U.S. Craft Brewers badge for independent seal. That it's a level up to 100. It started back in September of last year. So we work with the BA a lot, the Brewers Association, to get that data about who is part of the seal. It's something we're definitely thinking about for the future. But right now we kind of separate. We have a toggle for all breweries for independence and whether they're owned more than 50% by another brewery. So we use that as a toggle between independence that we eventually could use the seal for. But it's something we're definitely thinking about for the future and have spots for it in terms of data wise. But yeah, it's a good suggestion for sure.
Now, is that data dependent upon the brewery kind of setting that up, or do you have like auditors that come through and look and and check it out, or how does that work?
So we have a team of volunteer moderators, about 250 of them all across the world, that will go in and they'll actually go and clean up stuff in the region. So we have regionalized kind of expertise for people that are in Northeast, Southeast, things like that, Central, Midwest, that will go in there and we'll make these changes. The brewery itself could make those changes. Most of the time they don't do that, but we end up going there and we'll change it if we hear a news, something like that. But most of our moderator staff is pretty savvy in the industry, so they're actually going in there and changing it on a regular basis to make sure it's updated. Plus, the users that are on the service can propose an edit, so they can actually go in there and say that, hey, this brewery is owned by somebody else, and we'll go in there and make the change for it. But like I said, it's all about transparency. And we talk with Dogfish Head a lot, which are big proponents of this particular craft beer seal. And it's all about being able to educate users on where that brewery is owned by. Are they independent? Are they owned by somebody else? There's nothing bad with those particular breweries. If that's your choice, we just want you to be aware of what's out there and who owns what, and be transparent. I think that's the best thing to do for the beer industry right now. Is we don't want to pit one side against the other. We don't want to start fights with all these people, but what we want to do is just educate the user on what's out there and what they're drinking, so that they can make a decision based on their own preferences on what they want to do.
You don't have the great corn syrup fights at the Super Bowl, right? You don't want to do that. Chad.
Well, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I was just talking with my dad today about, he called me. I'm going down to see him this weekend. And he's like, hey, he called me up. He's like, I got a beer question. What should I buy? And, he's looking for, just a lager of some sort for the weekend. And he said, you told me about some Hawaiian beer at one point. And I said, well, there's a couple of them. I said, Kona is a big one, but it's owned by, they're not independent anymore. And then there's Maui Brewing that is independent. He's like, yeah, Maui, that's the one that you told me about. But he called me to ask, which beer he should buy based on which one is independent. And that's the thing with a lot of these breweries that have ended up selling out. Not that they make bad beer anymore, but they don't make it known necessarily that they're not independent anymore. And having a way to track that, such as an app like Untappd, is it's a great thing. My dad's not on Untappd. He's still kind of old school.
You got to change that.
I'm trying. I'm working on it.
He's got a smartphone, right?
It's all about being able to just describe to users ownership. And I think, if you are not happy that you're owned by a certain brewery, then I don't know why you wanted to get owned by them. I mean, you have to be honest with your customers, let them know where you come from and who you are. I think that's really important. I mean, I think I call it the Etsy effect when it comes to breweries. I think most people in local areas want to support their local breweries because they actually know them physically. They can go down, they can see the people that are making their beers. You go to your local brewery, you can see them in the back. They're on the vats, they're in the bright tanks, they're doing their thing there. And people want to be able to buy more personalized or customized products, just like the Etsy world, right? But I think it comes down to beer. People want to be able to see that, and with the bigger breweries, you don't get an opportunity to kind of see that very often. But it's all about being able to provide that local experience to people. And I think sometimes when you get bought out by a bigger brewery, some people think that you're going to lose that aspect. But as long as you keep your foot in the local area, I think that provides a big value for end users for that side.
And I think a great example of that is Goose Island and InBev. I mean, Goose Island has really kept their local foot in Chicago. I mean, they still do a lot of Chicago stuff. I mean, the whole Cody Parkey missed field goal and the field goal
that was
thing
awesome.
they did. Yeah.
That was great.
That was probably the best thing I've seen in a long time. That was incredible.
It was great.
Incredible.
I'm north of Chicago, and I wanted to go down there not to participate, just to make fun of everybody. But it was pretty snowy that weekend. So, but yeah, and also another part of it too is knowing where your money's going. Right. Like, so I know, okay, is my money going to Brazil? Is it going to California? Is it going to my local economy? Like, where is this going? Yeah. So I think it's great. Anything that helps, that community. Now, Untappd's a free app. I don't have to pay anything. I do because I'm a supporter, but normally nobody has to pay anything. So how are you guys funding? How are you guys making money to have these employees and do this beer fest and all that stuff?
Yeah, the crazy thing about this app is there's no ads. So that was what we were wondering. Like, how do you guys make money?
So I mean, for me, I've always said that I don't want to put ads in Untappd. I think ads kind of ruin the experience. But in reality, there are kind of ads in there, but they're ingrained so well into the content that you may not see them as ads. So, for example, when you check in a beer and you earn a special badge that we work with founders for example, or Bell's, those are sponsored material that they pay for. So we have some on this for them as well. You also might see some verified venues that pop up that are part of our Untappd business platform. That's also a strategy that we use for monetization, where we sell to restaurants, software as a service when it comes to beer management. So we have digital displays, print menus, and we also have analytics that we provide in a package for small customers and large customers, on that realm. So those are the kind of the main pieces of how we make sure that Untappd is a free app. It's stupid these days if you are an app and you're charging for usage if you want to build a community, because you want people to be able to come in and be able to check in and be able to grow the community without a barrier of entry. And we want to make this app really clean and fun to use. And I think ads in your feeds and stuff like that are not really the sexiest thing in the world when it comes to apps these days. So that's how we do most of our monetization strategy from there.
Now, do they? I don't know if it's what you said or not, but do they pay for like badges? Like Goose Island had a badge for the Bourbon County badge. Is that something like a promotion, so to speak, then that they were a part of?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So you may have seen the Goose Island like level part 1, part 2, part 3 for like the Black Friday stuff.
Got all 3.
And some of the promotions that we do with Devil's Backbone that we recently did with some giveaways for PJs and stuff like that. So all that stuff there is part of our promotional package that's paid for. Those sponsored content. And we really kind of it's kind of like a double-edged sword. We're really happy that it ingrains so closely into the app that you guys don't even think that it's an ad.
Right.
Because
you don't,
point,
honestly.
right? That's what advertising should be. It should be ingrained so much that it doesn't distract from the experience and you want to go out there and earn them. The other side of the equation too is that some people think that we're actually playing favorites. Why are we doing a badge for so-and-so brewery and we're doing a badge for the Bell's one? So it's all about trying to balance that and being very clear and saying, hey, this is a sponsored content, as opposed to all the Untappd guys are just all in on like Guinness and Bell's and stuff like that. They never care about anybody else. Not the case. We just that's one that pay us to do the certain things. So that's how it works.
That's cool. I did see the Guinness one for the month of March.
Yes,
I did see that one on Twitter today.
Yeah, so that's the St. Patrick's Day one. It's a pretty cool thing. They're actually donating a lot of money to local charities and stuff like that for St. Patrick's Day and for the month of March. So that's a pretty cool piece. We love stories like that because, badges are great and, everyone loves them. But if there's something tied to them specifically, that makes it a lot more interesting from that side of the house.
Yeah, and I go to Dublin usually once a year for work. And each year I've tried to get it over St. Patrick's Day, but it's never worked out. I would love to be in Ireland for St. Patrick's Day.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, me too. That would be awesome.
That would be insane. You brought up analytics there. And one thing I have to say, especially for anybody listening who is not a supporter, even if you're not a supporter, there's some analytics there. But I was surprised. The one thing that got me to pay up the money and become a supporter was I could see how much of a drinker that I am. And Chad and I actually, I don't know if it was our last show or our first show of the year, we gave Chad a hard time. He drinks a lot, and we're working on it. But
I drink more than I should.
I don't think so. I think you're just about right. But all the details there is like as far as like where you checked in the most, what beer you drank the most. I was surprised the beer I drank the most was Guinness, probably because I spent several weeks in Dublin. That's all I drank. I didn't drink anything else. Just Guinness constantly. So
Guinness is so much better though overseas.
Yes,
you feel the same way.
Yes,
it's unreal.
I when I first went to Ireland, I came back and I told Chad that I was like, "You'll never." It's totally because I don't drink it here in the States. I just don't. It's not.
I don't either. Really. I mean, I had it every once in a while, but over in Ireland, it's like a completely different beer.
And so
I had that so much when I was over there.
Chad went with me the last time I went for work. He came along with me. Him and my wife came, and he had these like, "Holy shit, you're right."
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
it is crazy the difference. And I mean, I've had it here many times, but just like Adam said, I was there for 4 days.
Yeah,
and that's literally as soon as I got there, I had a Guinness, and I'm like, well, shit, this is all.
You didn't even drink water.
No.
No.
I just drank Guinness the entire time.
Yeah,
because it's
Did you guys go to the Guinness factory there?
Yes,
we did. Yeah.
It's like Disney World. You have like a ticket, you get in there, and you get to the top.
You go up to the restaurant at the top or the bar at the top. Yeah,
very crazy.
Now, one thing I'll tell you that my coworkers in Dublin have told me, because I tell them the same thing. Like, I can't drink Guinness in the States. Last time I was there, he said, "Well, do you drink it from a can or from a bottle?" And I said, "Well, I usually get it from the can." And he's like, "Don't drink it from the can. That's shite."
Yeah, it makes sense, I guess.
He's like, "The can is shite. The widget is stupid. Don't drink it from that." He said, "Try it from a bottle." So the last time I went on the drive home from the airport, I got bottles, and I will say it's a lot better out of the bottles. I was surprised. Not the same. I could actually drink it from the bottle though. I could do that. So, one thing I think that really sparked my interest and actually was what sparked me to contact you to come on the show was over New Year's, your tweets with all the numbers, and
Oh, yeah, that
and the
was
Super Bowl.
The number of check-ins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, those numbers were. I just the first tweet I saw, I was like, "Holy shit!" And then the rest of the night, I'm like, "Did he tweet again? Did he go? Oh my god, holy shit!" You know. And then I'm just checking Twitter to see, like, okay, what's everybody drinking now? Like, those are some crazy numbers. That was just a surprise to me.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is one of the biggest holidays that we have on Untappd, and it's because of two things that everyone kind of celebrates around the same time period around the world. So there's obviously the time zone and stuff like that, but it's bigger in the early on. So from the 5 to 7, 8 o'clock period, beer becomes the drink of choice. As we get closer to midnight, it switches over to hard liquor based on what I'm seeing with data and coming. But I always wanted to share, because for the last 8 years I've been doing this, my wife has not been able to really kind of enjoy New Year's because I've been sitting on a computer making sure that everything works out really well. But at the same time, I've been seeing the progression over time of where the tipping points are. And we've gotten really good at it now. 8 years in, we can see exactly where. But I wanted to share that kind of knowledge with the rest of the community of how many beers per second, beers per minute are being checked into. And the numbers are pretty staggering. It's crazy to see how many are on there. I did it again for Super Bowl because that's also another big thing for us, because unlike New Year's Eve, now everyone's watching the game at the same time. So that's another big day for us because, everyone's doing it from 6 p.m., which is the kickoff, all the way to the end of the game, as well as, 1 year I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool to see like the cities for each individual team, like when one team scores a touchdown, do they check in more beer or something like that?
Yeah. Can you see that?
I can see that, but it turned out to be not as the hypothesis wasn't proven, because what most people do is they'll just check in their beer after drinking it. They don't do it in response to a particular touchdown per se. So it's
not like a shot when they score.
Exactly. A little different from that perspective. So so I mean, I was sharing stats like that as well to see how many check-ins per minute there. But it's really cool. My background's in data too, so I'd love to see that kind of those stats there. But it also provides a little bit of insights into how we operate as a company, how people use the app from that side.
Now, how many people use the location feature?
I'm a good majority of them. I don't have an exact number on terms of how many people actually tag locations month over month, but I would probably take a guess it'd be like 80 to 90%.
Really?
And again, people actually create their own houses on Untappd as
well.
I
did that.
Yep,
they'll create their own location. It's a pretty common thing now. But people do that now, and they'll use that feature to tag themselves, and that allows us to pinpoint the city and the state of where they're located and stuff like that based on the location. But it's also cool to see what state is the most popular. What U.S. state Super Bowls. The Patriots playing, obviously the Rams, with California beating out Massachusetts. But when it comes down to like these things, people move a lot. People are watching, or they go to the game or something like that, and it's really crazy to see all that data pouring in and where the check-ins are coming from that given time period.
The check-ins pick up in the summertime at baseball stadiums at all? Do you guys notice?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when come April, you'll see the top trending locations probably be all baseball fields, stadiums, as opening day comes up on us. But I think our biggest kind of month is usually July, which is the middle of summer. Everyone's kind of, kids are out of school, vacations, stuff like that.
You got to drink when those kids get out of school. They're home all day. You got to start drinking.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the biggest months we have, especially July 4th. It's a big holiday.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, right in there. It depends how many it really depends on how many weekends are in the month of that period. If there are more than weekends than usual, just because of the way the calendar works, that month will probably progress itself. Speaking of March, people always say, "Oh, St. Patrick's Day. Is that a big day for you as well?" It is, but it's actually a 24-hour drink-a-thon. So pretty much it's the entire day. People go crazy with it, and it doesn't actually stress the servers too much because it's over a longer period of time. With Super Bowl and New Year's Eve, it's a condensed time period that people are checking in more likely. Therefore, the threshold is much higher from that perspective.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I never really gave it much thought that the activity on the app would kind of revolve with the sports seasons.
Yeah,
because right
absolutely.
now we're kind of in a lull.
Yep.
All we have really going on is, golf has started up and NASCAR's going on, but those aren't necessarily drinking sports. So
Yep.
NASCAR kind of is.
April rolls around when opening day of baseball, and then you get into September, of course, when the NFL starts again, and I'm sure there's probably a spike then too.
Yep.
I've got a kind of a pointed question.
Sure.
What are you on Untappd? Do you check in beers?
Oh, of course. I mean, I feel like if you don't use your own products, you're like doing a disservice. You obviously are not as passionate about the industry as well. I always say that if you're not using the stuff you build, and it's kind of like you're not going to get a good perception of what to build. So I'm just Greg Avola on Untappd. And I do check in my beers. I rate them, except in a situation where I get a beer for free or something like that, or someone's like, oh, can you try my beer? I really want you to rate it. I'm like, I'm not going to do that if you gave it to me for free, because it's kind of like a biased decision there. But for the most part, I do check in all my beers, and I rate them, and just like everybody else when it comes to that.
So you're just like, are you available just like any other user? Like we can friend you just like.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So yeah, I accept a lot of friends there because I want to see what everyone's drinking and kind of communicate and toast and comment. And I really believe in the communication across the board. So yeah, absolutely. I'm a regular user on there. I drink beer like everybody else. So let's definitely be friends on there.
Awesome.
Now are you in North Carolina or New York?
So I just moved actually to Connecticut. I live in Connecticut now. I've been living in New York for the last 8-9 years. I literally moved about a month ago to Connecticut to be a little closer to family. But yeah, the main headquarters for Untappd is in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is about an hour and a half north of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and about 4 hours and 4.5 hours east of Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's kind of where we are from a map perspective. So I go down there pretty frequently, pretty much once every month to kind of check in, make sure they're working well. Most of the time I work in remote for the company, but I definitely go down there every pretty monthly. I'm actually going back down there on Sunday. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works for me.
How's the beer scene then in Connecticut?
It's definitely growing. Ultimately, my wife's from this area, so I've come here a lot. So it's not like it's an unfamiliar territory to me. But we have a lot of great breweries that are popping up. Obviously, the big one that a lot of people know about is Two Roads. Two Roads Brewing Company. It's a pretty big one. They built their facility like a contract brewer as well. They do a lot of contract brewing for Northeast breweries in the area. Another big one is New England Brewing Company, which makes Fussy Baby Ducks, which is probably one of the most highly rated beers in the area here. That's a really good double IPA from them. So it's definitely growing. It's not a New Yorker and it's not a California or anything like that nature area, but it's definitely getting to the area here. And new breweries are popping up all over the place that are providing a great experience for all types of drinkers. So I'm super excited to see the growth of that all over the place.
Now, when new breweries pop up, are you guys dependent upon the brewery to say, okay, here's our beers, or are you dependent upon like the user? Because I've been surprised many times that I've gone to a brewery that like I'd never heard of. They're pretty small to begin with, or they have a brand new beer that but it's already on Untappd. So
yeah,
is that coming from the user or from the brewery itself?
Majority from the user, because that situation happens where they go to that bar and it's not there and they create it, and that's what gets created. So it's like another double-edged sword there. You allow users to create the beers, but then they create a lot of duplicates, and also edits need to happen. So that's where our moderators come in with that situation. But we started with a beer database about 5,000 beers. We're close to 6 million now in database.
Holy
right
crap.
now. No, it's crazy how much it grows on a daily basis. Now, again, I want to caveat that we have a lot of commercial home brewer as well. So you can actually add your home brewery to Untappd if you want to. But commercial-wise, I think the number is around 2 million commercial beers in our system that are growing every single day. So
damn it, Chad, why aren't we adding our home brews? Chad, we should add our home brews to it. Jeez.
Yeah, you can.
Jeez.
Well, yes, you can claim your home brewery on Untappd, and then you can add labels and stuff like that if you really wanted to.
Wow.
That was a question of mine on how to do that, because we've done a couple of beers. I've got 2 bottles right behind me that are a stout that we brewed back in December.
Nobody can see. It's like pitch black behind you, man. It's like
what's that?
Nobody can see. It's pitch black back there. I mean, you're in a.
I'm pointing that it's
a
back
general
there.
direction. Gotcha. Okay.
It's back in the abyss behind me.
and we have a name for it. It's called the Flame Out Stout, and
we name our beers for accidents that happen during
Yeah.
the brew process. So
yeah,
I like it.
yeah,
But-
I
yeah,
burnt. I got second degree burns on my leg during one of our brews, and so that
Oh,
was burnt.
jeez.
That was burnt flesh. Was the name of that beer. So this one was
Yeah, but I
burnt out
wanna know
stout
how to
because
add-
the flame went out. We didn't know it. We had no idea.
how do we add ourselves
long.
as a home brewer of the Flame Out Stout?
So all you have to do is create your beer on Untappd. Like you'd search for a beer and you can't find it, and you'd follow the instructions on how to create it. And the last step is a home brewer like association. So you would say you create your brewery and you give it a home brewer type. Then at that point you can go to the website and then go find that brewery that you just created. And there's a big blue button on the right hand side that says claim this brewery, and you can claim it, which allows you guys to log in as the brewery and do edit beers, merge them, add labels. You can add logos, things like that. So yeah, you can. Anyone can add a beer on Untappd or add a brewery, all the same thing. But the cool thing is when you claim it, you're able to get a vanity URL. So, for example, untappd.com/dogfish beer is for dogfish, and you can make your own, and you can get your own kind of vanity URL for your home brewer. So that's a really cool thing.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Well, just a quick side note on the Flame Out Stout, just so you know how we named it. It was during the boil. We're all just we're drinking other beer while we're brewing, of course.
Obviously,
Right.
yeah.
And we're all standing around and we kind of noticed that the sound had changed a little bit. We look over at the at the tank and it's not boiling anymore, and we're like, shit, what happened? Well, the propane tank had run out, so it
Oh
was,
no!
So the flame went out at some point.
The
We have
flame
no
went
idea how
out,
long it'd been
and the-
out, but
and the boil had almost completely stopped.
Oh jeez.
but the beer was really good.
That's funny.
It turned out okay, but that's the Flame Out Stouts.
That's a great name for it, though. I like it.
The next plan is to barrel age that flame out stout and see how that goes. So we'll see what happens with that
I
one.
like
So-
it.
Are you a fan of barrel aged beers?
I'm actually not, and which is strange because people would probably say, "Why are you not a fan?" I'm not a big hard liquor fan at all. So that flavor of barrel aged doesn't really resonate with me as much as other beers do. But my father-in-law is a huge barrel aged whiskey drinker, so he loves those type of things. I have a bottle of same out of Utopia that I got for a gift.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I it's 2013, so my son
Yeah.
was born 2016, and I got it back in 2014. I said I'm going to hold on to this till he's born, my firstborn, and then we'll have a small sip of that when he's born, which we did. But it's very complex. I think a lot of barrel aged beers are extremely complex in their flavors,
Yep.
and if you're not a huge fan of hard liquor or bourbon or shandy or any of that, it's kind of hard to kind of grasp. But I definitely appreciate the style. It's pretty incredible the flavors you can get by just putting it in a barrel, which is incredible to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's one thing I look forward to. We drink a lot of barrel aged beers, but Chad and I have talked recently. Like our flavors, our tastes are going kind of swinging a little bit the other way now. It's like we've outdone it. We've done it too much, and now
almost all of 2018 was pretty much all about finding the best barrel aged beers.
Yeah.
And in fact, at one point for this show, we were like, all right, we're going to be the barrel aged guys.
That's all we did was barrel aged for a long
That's
time.
all we did.
Yeah.
I
Now-
still love both drinking a barrel aged beer tonight while we're doing this podcast.
Well, it's a revolution, though. It's
drinking a Revolution Straight Jacket. I've got a Death Star. But it's interesting how things change a little bit over time, because the barrel aged beer, a bourbon barrel aged stout or barley wine. Barley wine's my favorite style. Is always going to have that soft spot in my heart, but as things kind of progress here, I'm not always looking for the next barrel aged beer now. I'm looking for a good. The other day, I just went shopping for a good lager. I just wanted a good pilsner.
You were looking for something to replace the Miller Lite.
I was looking for something. Now, because we're both sort of fans of Miller Lite. As
I think
just
fan would be a little.
Well, we both have it.
Yes, let's put it that way. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that style though has not been represented that well when it comes to the craft side.
Exactly.
And let's be
That's
honest,
the problem that
that
we've had. Yeah.
a lot of them don't do that because it's not flashy, right? Because in this day and age, if you're not making a hazy IPA or a bourbon barrel aged something,
exactly,
the world is like, well, I mean, it may not be a good brewer. There's tons of great brewers out there that make amazing IPAs and amazing Czech pilsners or American pilsners, pale ales, lagers. There's a brewery where I grew up from Framingham, Massachusetts called Jack Abbey's, which is a all lager brewery. And so they're not as flashy as the other ones, but they make incredible beer. And I think that's going to be the next trend, in my opinion, of styles going forward when it comes to these type of original styles, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, we've been hearing a lot about the trend of lower ABV in beers.
Yes.
We had
huge.
Yeah, we had the brewer from Three Sheeps, which is in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, on. And that's one thing they've started doing is kind of lowering the ABV in some of their beers because that's what people are coming to the tap room and looking for. And kind of to that end, but also my wife tried to exercise and lose weight for the summer. Well, predominantly our fridge is craft beer. And
yeah,
that's not low in calorie at all. So we started doing the Miller Lite thing because we still wanted the beer, but without the calories, right? And
right.
Then Chad went on this thing, well, let's see if we can find a craft equivalent. And kind of.
It's hard to do because, I mean, you can't necessarily find a craft equivalent because of the price point of Miller Lite.
Well, yeah, price point is going to be,
has a lot to do with it. I mean, you could buy a 24-pack of Miller for $15.99.
Yeah.
And, my thought was if I can find a craft Pilsner that is priced at, say, $6.99 to $7.99 for a 6-pack is really all you can get that for. But then you add that up, then if you're looking at $7 for a 6-pack, multiply that by 4, then you're at 28. You're almost twice as expensive as a 24-pack of Miller Lite. But if the flavor is as good or better and refreshing, I'd be willing to spend that money to support a craft or independent brewery. But at the same time, well, Adam, and you can probably respond to this a little bit better because you brought this point up that you and your wife were talking. You've got so much craft beer in the refrigerator. Yeah, you got a 24-pack of Miller Lite in there too. But where's the majority of your money going that you're spending?
Yeah. We my wife had a good conversation about this because we want to support craft, we want to support local beer, and then my wife is like, "Look, we spend thousands of dollars on craft beer a year. We spend $14 a month, maybe $30 a month on Miller Lite. Yeah, we're supporting craft beer pretty good, When you balance the where the money's going, it's going 90+%, 95% over there. So, speaking of, I guess you got me thinking about this, Chad, with the price aspect. Has there been any thought about incorporating that into Untappd? Like they have the gas apps, right, where you can see, okay, the price of a gallon over there is this. I have really within the last year been using Untappd a lot to try and find whatever beer I'm looking for. Around here, Revolution Brewing, Goose Island, when they released the bourbon counties and stuff, trying to find that's not easy. I'd be making calls all day long, but I can go on the app and see, okay, somebody tagged it here. Has there ever been any discussion about adding, okay, well, Chad checked it in here and he paid $13 for a bottle or whatever, something along those lines?
Yeah, we haven't talked specifically about that. However, we have added a price for our verified venues. So we just partnered with Total Wine, which is a big retailer. I'm not sure if they're
in
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
You guys are.
Yeah, they're in Wisconsin.
So we get we basically they're exclusive. We put all their inventory on Untappd, and that includes the price. So we have a lot of prices from those aspect there, but it doesn't do a collaborative search, for example, like what are the average prices for this beer across this area. That was something we could do down the road, but ultimately it would require a lot of input from the user because they'd have to put in the price of what they're having. We've gotten a lot of complaints that our check-in process is already too long as it is, so always trying to to make that as simpler as possible. But definitely a good idea from that avenue.
Yeah. I think it's as easy as can be, honestly.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
When you said that, I'm like,
there's
really?
nothing hard about it.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Well, I think a lot of people look at it from like multiple taps to get to where you have to go. But again, there's on the check-in screen, the way I look at it, honestly, is you can't make everybody happy. I mean, sometimes people like a more streamlined experience, and I get that. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that what I made is the most perfect thing in the world, because that's not true. But at the same time, you try to do the best with what you have and make it best for the general public, for the majority of people, and add in some advanced features here and there to make it quicker. For example, I don't know if you guys know this, but if you search for a beer on Untappd, you'll see a 3 dot and then a line underneath of it on the right-hand side. That's what we call a quick check-in feature. Actually, if you search for Guinness, for example, and tap that 3 dots on the right-hand side, a bottom sheet will pop up, and it will have actually a rating widget right there.
I never saw that before.
But nobody really uses that feature.
No.
We've been there, but this is great for beer festivals, great for quick check-ins. There's no comment feature there, but it allows you to just tag your location and slide your rating, and you're done. So that allows you to have a quicker check-in, but that's something that we've always tried to incorporate in what we do.
Just at a beer fest this weekend, and I didn't check in my beers because I was going so quickly from place to place to place.
Yeah. Well, Two on Sport will do that to you, right? It's very hard checking all those beers unless you have a helper in this situation.
Yeah, but the whole time I'm thinking, I'm missing unique check-ins. But yeah,
I was surprised you didn't check anything in when you were there.
I know. I said I was going to go back and do it, but I'm too lazy for that shit. So I actually I noticed that thing there, but I never even bothered to tap that and find out what that is. That's really cool. I like that.
That could help with festivals, make it much easier for you just to search and tap and you're done.
Yeah.
It's a 3 operation thing. So
wow.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you've got people that are complaining about the difference between, I'm holding up my phone here for those of you that aren't watching. If you're the difference between doing that and liking your app and doing that, tapping twice and not liking your app, I'd be like, all right, well, don't use my app then.
And that's why
honestly,
that's why you don't have a business based off an app, Chad.
God, that'd be frustrating. That'd be so frustrating, Greg.
No, I know
you be a patient person to deal with your comments.
You have to, but here's the way I look at it. I mean, a lot of people look at Untappd now and the success we've had, and we really keep our feet on the ground. We're incredibly humble. We always respect users and respect their opinions. I mean, we're not going to get into a game where we're going to tell a user that they're wrong. We're going to try to improve the best we can. We're not going to be able to make everybody happy, but the idea that our company mantra is to surprise and delight users, and we're going to try to build the best experience both on the support side and also on the app altogether. So I think it's one of the successes and why Untappd is where it is today is that we've actually all the feedback that we get and the features we add have come from users. So people said to us, hey, we used to be just a 1 to 5 rating system with no half stars or quarter stars. So we improved over time listening to feedback from users and made the app better from that perspective. So
Chad.
we're not gonna build a feature into somewhere that says will this help the user or not? We're not gonna do things that will not help the user.
Look, Chad and Jake, they would like an 8th scale.
Yeah, we're on the opposite side of that. Yeah. I would actually like a 10th or actually 100th of a scale.
Chad has actually made up what he calls a secret scale. So when he checks in a beer that's above 5, he'll comment SS and then put what it is above 5. Now, he says the scale goes to infinity, but he also says that nothing checks in over a 5.75 or something like that.
Yeah, that's my highest so far.
Whatever, you're full of crap. It changes constantly. You don't even know what the scale is.
I just I like a fine scale. So where if I have something that I think is I wouldn't need the secret scale at that point, because then I could go like,
I'm about to hit this John Gruden soundbite real quick. If you're
no, come on.
I don't care
now.
if you like it or not.
Well, I'll tell you this. We've done some really research on this, and when it comes down to it, a general user doesn't know the difference between a 4.7 and a 4.8. They're not able to distinguish that on that level.
That's a good point.
So with quarter stars, it's easier to say 3.25 and 3.35. It's easier to identify with. And we found that if we increase the rating scale to be larger, people say, screw it, I don't really want to rate it. It's too complicated. I don't. It's too hard for me to just swipe it all the way up, and I'm not really sure what it is. So we want people to continue to rate, which is why we have that scale right now.
I love it.
How about if you made it linear, like everything up to 3 is in quarters, and then above 3 it goes 3 to 4, it's an eighth, and then 4 to 5 it's a little bit finer.
Oh gosh.
Well, yeah, that would be pretty complicated. I'm not even trying to respond to that.
I was waiting for him to be like, "We'll take that into consideration." No, we won't. No. Well, I know you.
Greg,
I know you have to. You have another thing to get to here. I did have, well, 2 questions if I can remember the second one now that I say that. But the first one is, how do I become an Untappd moderator?
Sure, absolutely. We're always looking for people to help us with there. So you can definitely shoot me an email after this and get you set up. I think in that area we don't have a whole lot of moderators already. So anytime you want to get back to Untappd for moderation, we're all for it. So just let me know and we can hook you up with that situation.
Sweet. And then what's the future? I mean, what's next on the road? Obviously, we know the beer fest, which we're looking forward to, but what can we look forward to Untappd in the new year?
Yeah, I mean, I think for our standpoint, we're always about trying to improve the app performance-wise and make it faster and easier to use, which is a given for every year pretty much you work on. But with our festival coming up, we're looking to add more festival-related features to the app, quicker to check in, quicker to get the beer, network capabilities. You all know in the stadium, there's not a lot of network all the time. So we're working on kind of low latency kind of things like that. So that's definitely something that we're working on for the future with the Given Festival coming up on May 4th.
Sweet.
Awesome. One question I think that we've come to ask all of our people, all of our interviewees towards the end of the segment is, given any Friday or Saturday night, what's your go-to? What's your go-to beverage?
Oh, definitely a beer. First of all, I mean, that would be a very very poor question if I didn't answer that right. But to be honest with you, I'm really right now into session IPAs because I have a 2-year-old. I would love to have a juicy 9-10% double IPA, but I've got to stay pretty even keel. So I'm really big into the low alcohol IPAs right now across the board. I'm actually not a sour fan, so I don't really like sour beers. But Sea Quench from Dogfish Head is actually something that it's incredible low calorie, low ABV beer, which I think is really, really good. But one of my go-tos all the time is the All Day IPA from Founders.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite low ABV beers on the IPA side. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they get the flavor in there without having a low alcohol content, but that's kind of my jam right now. If I'm not able to sit back a heady topper, if I'm lucky enough being in the Midland area, but I like the session IPAs for sure.
The Sequence is great after mowing the lawn on a hot summer day.
Oh,
yeah, it does
absolutely.
It's great.
Love it.
Very cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Love it.
Appreciate you taking the time, man.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
awesome.
if anybody listening to us isn't on Untappd, I don't know why you're even listening to us because we talk about it so much. It should be on Untappd by now. So, thanks a lot, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, Greg Avola, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Thanks. All right, we'd like to say again, thanks to Greg for joining us. That was great. It was a lot of fun. Untappd is a great app. It really is. I mean, for what it does and what it is, that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's tell me 2 years ago that we'd be sitting here today interviewing the founder of Untappd, I would have called you crazy. And it's kind of a big deal in the beer world. I mean, Untappd is a big part of most, I think,
beer
serious. Well, I don't want to say serious beer drinkers because there are serious beer drinkers that all they drink is Bud Light on a Friday night, but
craft beer drinkers.
Guys and gals that know and appreciate what they're drinking, I think Untappd is a big part of their game. Yeah. And to be able to track your beers, understand what you're drinking, and by understand what you're drinking, I mean know what you're drinking, whether it's an independent craft beer or if you're drinking Kona thinking it's an independent brewer. And
knowing where your money's going, knowing.
Yeah. I mean, I think Untappd is a fantastic tool for keeping track of an interest in your life. I mean, it's not. I made the joke early on in the show, in the interview, that Untappd was the social network for alcoholics, and yeah, it was funny when I said that, but it's. I mean, and I use the term alcoholic loosely. It's people that just enjoy drinking beer.
Yeah,
in a way to keep track of what you're doing, what you like, and what you don't like. So, yeah, I really appreciated him coming on the show and letting us talk to him for an hour. That was great.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, he had something to get to at the top of the hour, and he had some issues with travel. Flight was delayed, that's why he couldn't join us at the original time we had scheduled. So it was really cool that he was able to so quickly reschedule. So we're very, very appreciative of that. So
I wasn't expecting it the next day. I mean, I thought we'd have to reschedule in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I was expecting like next 2 weeks or something like that. So that was really cool.
Yeah, here he is the next morning saying, "Hey, sorry guys,
it's
what
impressive.
happened. Let's do it tonight."
It's impressive, how he said that they went from 5,000 beers to over 6 million beers in their database now. That's insane. It goes to the growth, obviously, of the industry, right? I mean, that's a huge key part in it. But just people using it, and breweries and stores and stuff like that all using it too. It's amazing.
Yeah, and there's actually one question. That's a question I wanted to ask him, but just because of the time availability that we had with him tonight, I didn't get to ask it. But I wanted to know how a beer actually gets added to the app.
I asked that.
No, you did not specifically. Like
I did.
No.
Yes.
When a brewer comes up with a beer and wants to put it on Untappd.
Yeah, they can either add it, they can do it themselves, or what he says what happens most of the time is that a user will add it, the moderator will go check it, and the brewer will come in and claim it.
Oh, I do remember that.
So the brewer can come in and say, okay, this, flame out stout that I had, that's our beer. Click, there we go, that's mine now, and then they can control what it says.
Well, that's what we were talking about homebrewers adding, but I mean, like when a brewery comes out with a beer, it's on its release date. Is one of their? I guess more my question was, if somebody's going to launch a milkshake IPA,
gross,
and they know the date that the party's going to happen for the release, is one of their things on their checklist to say, hey, we got to get this on Untappd. When does that happen? How does it happen?
Right. So if they yes, they can do that. They can just like
I must have been having a coughing fit.
Must have because they can do that just like how we add it as a home brewer. They can add it in the same way by logging in with the brewer's login information, whatever it is, the brewer's login information. So, but like he said, a lot of times what happens though is that the brewery doesn't do it, and the user goes to the brewery, drinks it, and then creates it, and then later the brewery will come back and claim it and take it. So
okay, so a user can put it in, and then the brewery claims it.
They can do they can do it that way, or the user can create it, so that was here, and then the brewery can come in and say they can create it, and the app will see, well, wait, there's these two things, and they'll fix it. But yeah, it's cool. The app is great. What I think is really great about it too, their business aspect of it, which is their money revenue stream. It's not only just for the brewer, it's for the bottle rooms, the tap rooms, the liquor stores, that they all of that can get involved basically. So it's a great app. I love using it.
One of the things we brought it up earlier in the interview was how their revenue is generated. And honestly, either it's just so good, or I'm just as dumb as I think I am.
I'll go with the latter.
That when you get a badge, I never even gave it a thought.
Nope.
That
I didn't either.
Founders paid for that badge.
That's why I asked, because he was like saying, he had told us, that they had paid for these things, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, well, shit. So that Goose Island thing was really just an advertisement.
I know.
It's great. It doesn't. it doesn't come across as an advertisement. Like on Facebook, you're getting bombarded with fucking advertisements all the time. Or like some apps that I have, that are free, they have the stupid ad banners at the top and the bottom. They do it really well. They do it very well, actually.
Yeah. He had to love that question, because I was like, okay, where do you make your money? Because there are no ads on Untappd.
Nope.
He had to be like gleaming, like,
yeah, but then he's like, well, yes, there are. You just don't see them.
You don't know it, and that's amazing.
It's fantastic. It's a great. They're doing a great job at making it not feel like I'm being advertised to.
Yeah. So when I'm on Instagram and I'm scrolling through the pictures and I get a sponsored ad, I'm like, hide it,
Fuck you.
because I'm not interested in this. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that on Untappd.
Nope.
You get the badge that's been paid for by whoever paid for it. It's their revenue.
Chad, what
and
happened?
I'm happy to collect that badge.
What happened to your picture? Your picture's gone.
What's that?
On Untappd, your picture's gone.
What?
Yeah.
Say it ain't so.
It is so. I just went. See, that's you, Chadlack, right there. That's Chad.
What happened to my picture?
Your picture's gone, Chad. What are you gonna do, Chad?
Oh my
Your
God.
picture's gone, Chad. The other thing I like, also that I didn't even mention to him though, is that I can be notified when like you check in, right, or when Jake checks in, even if you guys don't tag me. So I like that too. So that was cool.
I mean, it's a great app all around.
Yeah.
Not just for what it's made for tracking your beers, and not just for like finding people that you have a similar interest in. It's just a really well put together application that works for exactly what it's intended for. There's no distractions while using it. He said something about people complaining that there's too many steps to check in a beer, and I'm like,
well, the thing is,
I don't get that at all.
Yes
I think
and
it's
no.
super easy.
Because if you go down all the options, there's quite a few steps. But the whole thing is, those are all optional. Like you don't have to put
They're
your
all
location,
optional, and
put where you purchased it. You don't have to leave a comment. You don't even have to rate it if you don't want to. It's all completely an optional thing. So if you checked everything, so you did a picture, you left a comment, you rated it, you did the serving style, you tagged a friend, you did a location, you did a flavor profile, and you did a purchase location, that's 8 steps. Okay, yes. That seems like a lot. That's an ugly picture.
I'm back.
So it's 8 steps if you did every single thing. I never do every single thing. So
yeah, I don't either. We should have asked about the location where you purchased it. That's because that's one feature I don't usually use, unless I'm
the purchase location. Yeah, he actually asked on Twitter a while ago if people use it and how they use it, and a lot of people responded that if it's like a restaurant or it's a location they like, or if it's like a buddy's store, they'll always put the purchase location in. But if it's just some rando location, they don't usually purchase it, which I will say kind of fucks everybody else over, because when I'm going in there to try to find where I can find Straight Jacket, it's going based off of purchase location.
Right.
So if you don't put that in, I don't know that place has.
You're screwed next time.
Yeah. So. Yeah, these interviews are getting fun. I'm kind of liking doing this. So.
Yeah. This was great.
Yeah.
Jakey, we missed you, buddy.
Yeah, it sucks Jake couldn't be here. So next week we have David Nilsson will be on. David Nilsson is Cicerone certified. He teaches classes mainly in the Ohio area, but I know he is coming to the south side of Chicago this month or last month. But he teaches classes on tasting and I think food and beer pairing. So he will be here. We'll be talking to him. And then my calendar just messed up. And I think the following week, the 13th, we will not be having a show because Chad is going to be traveling again. Then the 20th, we will have Beer by the Numbers. We'll be on. If you don't know Beer by the Numbers, check him out on the old YouTube's very interesting channel. He dives into a lot of different things. Analytics, of beer, history of beer, a lot of different stuff. So that'll be a fun one. And then the end of March on the 27th, we will have Tasty Niche. She will be on. She's also another YouTuber. Check her out on the old YouTubes. And so we got some good ones coming up.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a great month of podcasting. And even though there's going to be a little bit of a break there.
It's only a weekend. Maybe Jake and I'll jump on to get drunk and yell at everybody.
You should do it. Because I will be gone for 2 whole weeks in April. And you guys are going to have to entertain the kids while I'm gone. So you have to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be cool. Also, don't forget to check out the Friday morning beer reviews every Friday. Chad does that every fucking Friday. So
every Friday, as long as I'm upright.
He gets out of bed with his morning wood and drinks a beer.
I'll be doing one tomorrow.
You can check that on YouTube. And what else? Is that it?
I think so.
Twitter.com/beardedhops. That's us. All right. Well, I think that's it. I think we're done. I think we did it.
We did it again. See you next time.
See you next time, kids.
We're the 3 best friends that anyone could have. We're the 3 best friends that anyone can have. And we're always gonna hang out.